I found myself in a drive-thru ordering French fries. I don't know how I got there. It was after a stressful sales call or something. It could have been anything. My kids had a bad grade. Somehow the French fries called my name, and I don't want a 99-cent heart attack. And it's when I have those moments where I'm conscious about what I'm doing that I realize that this is where food problems begin. Emotional eating, addiction to certain foods because they somehow make us feel better, when in reality they really don't make us feel better. After we eat the French fries, I feel awful. My skin feels greasy. What is that doing to the inside of my body?
I live and practice in Detroit, and I believe our city and the people that live here represent the best of America. I wanted to create a place that folks can go to that not only delivers health information, but also helps us share inspirational stories to help all of us grow, with real problems discussed in depth with real solutions. You are the most important person to the patient. This is Ask Dr. Nandi. Hello and welcome to Ask Dr. Nandi. Now, do you snack when you're bored, stressed, or depressed? Are you more apt to eat while watching television, or do you overindulge at mealtime? Today, we're talking about mindless eating versus mindful eating. Knowing the difference between the two will help you become a healthier, happier, and more fit person. We'll also take a look at some snack options and help you choose the healthiest one to get through your day. When we come back, we'll talk to Michael Jai White, actor and fitness expert. Please stay with us.
So you want your energy to sustain. And if you take simple sugar, it's just going to rise you up and it's going to drop you down lower. So you don't want to do that.
Welcome back. You're watching Ask Dr. Nandi, and today we're talking about mindless versus mindful eating. Our next guest is an expert in fitness and health, not only for his personal benefit, but for his roles in many different films. Please welcome Michael Jai White. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. You know, being an actor, many of you know he's been on many, many movies. Being an actor and having a hectic lifestyle, how do you avoid just eating mindless, unhealthy snacks?
Well, it's kind of like it's decided for me already now because it would get me sick. Actually,
Really?
Actually, I'm so used to not eating the junk foods that
The crap.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel good if I did.
Tell me what happened. So there are people probably here and at home who eat junk food all the time. So tell them, and I know what you're talking about, because once you start eating healthy and your body gets used to it, you eat, for example, I used to eat pizza like it was a food group when I was in college.
Right.
And now, if I eat more than one, I'm talking about, if I eat more than one slice, I mean, I'm literally physically sick.
Right, yeah.
And I've got one of my nurses from my office here in the audience, and she knows that I'm bloated and uncomfortable. I mean, is that what you're talking about? You get physically
because
unwell.
you stop producing the enzymes that break down that bad food, and so your body's a barometer for the bad stuff. It just knows, like, oh wait, something's not right here. So myself, I mean, I'm always, I tend to travel with food. I look
Really?
a little crazy sometimes. I've got like all kinds of different snacks packed, and if I'm on a flight. Half the time I don't take what the airport or the airline is giving, so I have my own stuff. I just kind of wrap everything and vacuum seal things and eat it on the plane.
Like, what's an example? I mean, that's amazing that you're that busy. I mean, think about it. Most people are not nearly as busy as Michael, and he's packing snacks. What's an alternative snack that you can give our audience a peek at, like a tip on what do you pack?
Yeah, I think it's great now because it seems like even the bodegas and stuff, they're getting a bit more health conscious. Now you can find things like popcorn and some of the things that like brown rice chips, which is a big favorite of mine. You find brown rice chips sometimes in grocery stores, a lot of grocery stores now, and even in CVS and places like that. But I tend to, at home, you make up a bunch of say if I made up chicken, vegetables, and what have you, you make a lot of it and then you just seal it up. And personally, I have a ready-made meal that I can just, pop in the oven or microwave if I need to.
Got it. And you take it with you when you travel instead of having the chips or whatever they give you on the flight.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, when you go, remember, you have to realize what your body can get used to and what you like. And there are plenty of options. And if you just have to take the time, some people say, well, I don't have the time. Do it in the weekends, If you're not traveling like Michael is, if you have a busy work week, make up those meals or snacks during the weekend for the entire week. Now, when you go on sets, they have craft services.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about those, and usually typically are not very healthy.
Yeah.
Do you partake in those? Do you avoid those? What do you do?
Well, I'll tell you what I used to do.
Yeah?
Because now, luckily, I'm in a place where I can make a decision on what's going to be available. So, sometimes those people who like the junk food, they're a little out of luck because I've got nothing but good food on the set now. But when I wasn't able to, kind of like dictate that, what I would try to do, it's hard. But what I would try to do, I'd get creative. Sometimes I would, if there is any kind of, like certain sandwiches, I avoid the breads because bread will, kind of bog you down, pretty
Very heavy, loaded, exactly.
And just try to stay away from the sugar because that's the environment you don't want your body to be in, especially if you have some like here you have long sets, and so you want your energy to sustain. And if you take simple sugar, it's just going to rise you up and it's going to drop you down lower. Exactly. So you don't want to do that. So, you want things that are more complex carbohydrate, and sometimes
like fruits, right? Fruits, maybe.
Yeah.
Because even if you have these crappy trays, you still have some things where some vegetables, maybe some salad. You want to have complex carbohydrates, which sustain it. What Michael is saying is that you have things with low glycemic index instead of high. High glycemic index foods, the sugar spikes up and goes down, and the insulin goes up. So people who are diabetic, it's bad for them. People who have high blood pressure, all these things get worse. And so I'm sure you found some things on there you were picking and choosing, weren't you?
Yeah, you get a little creative. I mean, of course, you want to eat things in their natural state.
Yes.
Banana is a banana. I try to
not a fried banana.
Yeah, so that's what I do. Like, of course, fruit is a better go-to than the I guess, chocolate bars, these type of things. You really don't want to, you don't want to do that type of thing.
Yeah, it's amazing that you learn that over time, because I did the same thing. But when you're a kid and young adult, it's everywhere around you. And if you do that, what you're doing is you're giving your body a substrate, or what you're giving your body is the beginnings of how to destroy itself. And he's absolutely right. It'll bog you down, and it will not give you the energy nor the health that you need. So this mindless eating really is not for you. Thank you so much for providing insight in your life and how you, even with your busy schedule, have been able to fight that mindless eating. Thank you so much. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Jill, co-founder, licensed psychologist, about how the mental health affects the physical health. Please stay with us.
We're not thinking about how we're feeling. We're not thinking about if we're hungry or not hungry. We're sort of on autopilot.
Got it.
Sort of the same as when you drive your car to work every day, same path every day, you stop thinking about it. It's not a conscious behavior. You get there and you wonder, how did I get here?
Welcome back. Dr. Jill Coffender is a clinical psychologist specializing in depression and anxiety and other mood issues that may affect our food choices. Please welcome her to the show. Now, we've often talked in the show about food and mood. How are they connected? How does your food affect your mood and vice versa?
How we feel affects what we eat and how much we eat. When we're experiencing negative emotions like feeling anxious or feeling depressed, we might eat more, or we might make poor food choices.
Like chocolate, ice cream, when you feel kind of down, right?
Foods high in fat, high in calories.
Yeah.
Alternatively, though, what we eat can affect how we feel.
Got it.
So certain foods can affect us differently physiologically. We might eat foods that increase serotonin in our body, which acts as a mood regulator.
Like what kinds of foods would increase serotonin, for example? So people say, oh, yeah, that's a big word, but what about some foods that we can eat that actually increase serotonin?
I believe vitamin D and
some proteins too, right? I mean, you can have that and increase serotonin. And the reason why serotonin is so important is it's a mood regulator. So you can change your mood based on the amount of serotonin there is, correct? Yeah. So please go ahead.
So additionally, when we think about certain foods, that could actually affect our mood too. So we may perceive certain foods to make us feel good, like chocolate, like you mentioned. We think of chocolate as a feel-good food, or we think of comfort foods.
Right.
So people typically associate certain foods with feeling better, feeling, a sense of calm. Often these are associated with things from childhood or home cooking. So how we feel affects what we eat, and what we eat affects how we feel.
That's well said. I think that's a huge point. Now, what about this mindless eating? What are some of the reasons why so many of us, have mindless eating, just eat without purpose, it seems like?
Well, so eating mindlessly is really because we're not paying attention. We're lacking awareness. We're not thinking about what we're doing. We're not thinking about how we're feeling. We're not thinking about if we're hungry or not hungry. We're sort of on autopilot.
Got it.
Sort of the same as when you drive your car to work every day, the same path every day, you stop thinking about it. It's not a conscious behavior. You get there and you wonder, how did I get here? It's automatic. So mindless eating is similar to that. Negative emotions can lead to mindless eating. When we're feeling depressed or anxious or bored, we may eat more. We try to eat to distract ourselves from distress. So I like to say that we try to eat away whatever's eating at us.
That's an important thing. And I think also, going back to your previous point, one of the things I had to do was, your whole life you eat at a certain time, and even if you're not hungry, what you do is you say, okay, you should do it. It becomes a routine. It becomes mindless. You're not mindful of what your activities. And I think if you do that, it'll be fine. Now, let's say you do get depressed, and let's say you have some negative emotions, and you've trained your body, you've conditioned your body. For those of you who are watching, you know this, that you eat these types of foods. What other activities can you do besides that mindless eating that you can suggest?
So first you need to become aware of what you're doing. To change any behavior, you have to be aware. Sometimes it can be helpful to write these things in a journal to keep track of how are you feeling, what are you thinking about, what are you eating, what's the situation, and that helps bring about awareness. When we replace those activities of eating, it's useful to replace them with something that is pleasurable. So things like taking a walk or having a cup of tea, taking a bath, deep breathing exercises, muscle relaxation exercises, yoga, meditation, listening to music. All of these things are pleasurable and they're positive for us.
So I think to your point, I think we can train our kids. One of the things that those who are watching you can do is you can train your children that when they have a negative emotion, that you don't give them a piece of some chocolate or candy. And we do that as parents because we want to comfort our kids. Instead, give them other behaviors that they can do that are helpful, like she talked about. And as adults, you can do this. So you can become more mindful, do activities that are actually increase your exercise, and so that yields positive results in many ways. So that's great advice. When we return, we'll talk to Melinda Strack about taking the holistic approach to eating, mindful and healthy. Stay tuned.
So mindless is not being aware. Maybe even not even realizing you're eating because you're in front of a television, or you're driving, or you're doing something you're not quiet, you're not paying attention.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. Today we're discussing mindless eating versus mindful eating, and here to explain holistic mindful eating is Melinda Strack, certified health and happiness coach. Thank you for being with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So why do people come and see you? I mean, what are the main reasons why people come and talk to you?
Weight loss seems to be 90% of my business. It's obviously a big industry in the United States, and if you look around, a lot of people seem to want to try and get back into shape, and so that's the biggest reason.
And do they want to, are they the quick fix people want to, because if you're watching, you know, we're in a fast food, kind of fast everything environment, and do they want to do it quick? Like, can you give me a plan that'll make me perfect in a day?
Yeah, I wish I had a magic pill, right? Because that is what everyone's looking for.
Exactly. Something that doesn't just involve common sense. So when they do come to you, do some people have the problem of mindless eating, you know, and just eating for no reason? Do you notice that a lot in some of your clients?
I do notice that. I notice it's almost like they're on autopilot in a lot of areas of their life. So I tend to look at all areas and then help identify what's causing them to numb out, to be mindless.
Okay. And she said something very important. It doesn't just end with eating, it's every part of your life. So, you know, you could be just cruise controlling through your child's life. You know, you could cruise control your work. And I think the whole idea is being mindful. What's the difference, though? You can tell us, you know, from your professional opinion, between mindless eating and mindful eating.
So mindless is not being aware. Maybe even not even realizing you're eating because you're in front of a television, or you're driving, or you're doing something that's, you're not quiet, you're not paying attention.
Is it conditioned behavior? Like, do you just say, this is what I do when I drive, this is what I do when I go to a movie theater, a huge, facing those things, those gigantic tubs of popcorn that you finish because you're in a movie theater.
Right.
Is that what that's all about?
It could be habits that we've created over time. Yeah.
Perfect. And so when you do that, how do you help people cope with that? And how do you get them from the mindless to mindful?
I teach them techniques. For instance, taking a deep breath before they eat. And stay away from screens. Be in a place where you're not watching a television or you're not on your phone. It would be helpful if you're sitting with family, but still make it a game, like make it a chewing game with your family. So you're really taking in the food.
Tell me about this chewing game. I'm not sure I understand
Fun
that.
game. We should get some food out.
I know. I wish there was some food. I'm
I
so
know.
hungry. Any food out here, Fred? There's no food. But tell me about the chewing game. What's that all about?
So let's say we had carrots. Both you and
Okay.
I had a pile of carrots, and we take one carrot and we take one bite.
Okay.
And the winner is the one that chews it the longest.
Oh wow.
So I find
Especially with kids.
my kids, adults are inhaling their food. They're
Oh,
not
yeah.
even tasting it.
Some don't even chew, I don't think, anymore.
No,
At least,
it's a shame.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, there's this portable food that you don't have to do very much with. So you give them other activities, right, to get their mind off of the mindless eating. How effective is that for you?
It's very effective. In fact, they didn't realize it before they come to me, and we do simple exercises that makes them aware, and they are blown away by what's been happening in their life to that point.
And the one thing that she's saying is that, you know what, that it's not complicated. It's not like some woo, you know, kind of crazy thing that you don't think you can do. It's very, very simple. And so once they do that, what happens to their lives? I mean, can you extend it the rest of their life, not just the mindful eating?
Well, it's practice. A habit needs to be formed, and it needs to be practiced, like building a muscle or building a breath. It needs to be a constant habit, and so that it will stay there. I think what it creates is consciousness, especially when they sit down to look at their plate,
Okay.
to think about the food that's going in their body and how it affects them. It begins to become more of who they are. Instead of just inhaling food, they're taking it in for nourishment.
Interesting. And then you're saying that actually going through the whole process of eating, chewing, and how long does that take? So you're watching, you know, saying that, hey, you know, is this going to take me a day? Does it take months? Or what? Tell me about that. When you have your clients that come in, how long does it take them to do this?
I like to introduce new things once a week and have them practice
Okay.
and then report back. And they decide what they want to do because everyone's lifestyle is different.
And you're a life coach, so you then how do you extend that to the next, you know, part of their life? So, for example, if they have kids, how do you then take that same techniques? Do you extend it to their whole life and not just compartmentalize it?
Absolutely. I think that there are studies that have been shown that if you teach it to someone else, then it really integrates into your own life. So it's how fun it is to teach to your kids.
Yeah.
And if you get your spouse on board too, that's good. Or even having a buddy, a best friend, your next door neighbor that helps you stay mindful.
And how important is that? She made a very good point. How having somebody else with you doing this, how important is that? I mean, I guess you can do it by yourself, but if you have a friend or a spouse, how much easier is it to do it with somebody?
It's so much easier to have somebody on board, somebody to remind you of your goal, and maybe it becomes their goal too. Especially if it's a spouse, then you're doing it together,
Exactly.
You're building a bond, and that's powerful.
And then what it does is also you have something in common that you talk about. So if you can, try to have an entire family that actually follows. Because if you have one person doing it and the rest of them are all eating Cheetos, it's going to be a little difficult.
Hard.
So great. We have to take a break. When we come back, more Melinda, please stay with us. How does your mood get affected by the food you eat, or vice versa?
Yes, our emotion is deeply tied to food. And part of that too is, grandma made the birthday cake for you, and so therefore it's really good. And so you want to have that reward or that good feeling again, and so you're eating those foods.
Welcome back. Today we're talking about mindless eating versus mindful eating. Joining us again is Melinda Schrock. So Melinda, thank you for joining us again. We've been talking about how you've been able to take some of your clients and have them understand mindful eating. But tell me about another aspect, mood and food. We talk about how your mood can really affect what you eat, right? And I'm sure some of your clients talk about that. Tell me what your experience is about that. How does your mood get affected by the food you eat, or vice versa?
Yes, our emotion is deeply tied to food. And part of that too is, grandma made the birthday cake for you, and so therefore it's really good. And so you want to have that reward or that good feeling again, and so you're eating those foods to replace that. And we just need to unwind that a little bit and figure out why. So I ask a lot of questions around why someone is doing something. And oftentimes, people already know what they're doing and how to correct it. They just need encouragement.
Got it. And so let me go back to your idea about the comment about grandma. So when you go to grandma usually and she has a piece of cake, it brings back that feeling of comfort. Is that what we're referring to, that feeling of comfort? So not always just a piece of cake that's good, because some carrots may be good too, but that feeling that grandma's cake gave you. Is that what we're talking about?
That's exactly what we're talking about.
And so then what do you do? So how do you then tell your client that, grandma is really nice and grandma did give you that feeling? Then how do you overcome that? How do you help them understand that?
So when we uncover that is the issue, they then can make a choice. It's like now they realize that they don't have to go in for the cake. It's very interesting when you bring attention to that type of situation. They actually recognize it first. And
The
so
aha
the
moment
next
almost,
time,
right?
exactly, it happens,
Yeah.
they can make a choice. And if they make the choice to eat it, then they do that mindfully.
Got it.
But they can make a choice not to eat it, and that's also mindful.
Got it. At least, I think the important point that she's making is that you're making a choice. It's not just cake, eat, feel good. And that whole pathway that you take is now broken, so that you can make that choice. And yeah, sometimes you have to eat a piece of cake. We're not saying you never do, but the key is that you're being mindful and you're making a choice. Now, what about going out? Now, when I go out, sometimes two things. When you go out with, your family or friends, and then when you go out for business, how do you make those mindful choices? Because they give you all kinds of crap, and everybody's eating around you. Tell me how you make those nice choices.
I like to arm my clients with the ability to know where they're going. Check out the menu online.
That's interesting.
So many menus are online.
Yeah.
You can find a healthy choice, and be mindful that my healthy choice isn't the same as yours.
Got it.
Some things don't work in my body. And so as we go down this path of being mindful in what we're eating, people start to uncover foods that don't serve them. So then they can choose the right ones at a restaurant.
And the other thing that, I think you're also saying is that it's okay to say no. So one of the things that what happened to me when I was earlier is that I would want to please my friends as well. So if they all ate, I don't know, a bunch of pizza and a bunch of crap, I would feel like you're kind of obligated to go with them. One of the things that you have to understand is your health is more important than trying to please somebody. So absolutely, I think it's a great tips you gave is go online, find out the menu so you already know what the healthy choices are. Secondly, have some ideas of what to do. One of the tips I have is that, when you have the dessert, for example, and people are all digging in, think of another story, something that'll take the attention off the dessert and talk about, hey, I saw somebody the other day. So the attention and the focus is not the food, but rather on the conversation. So I think this would be great. Now, something I've got notes on is the integrative nutrition plate. What is that all about?
So I studied at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
Okay.
And one of the main teachings is that it's not only what's on our plate. So we do want to be mindful and keep our portions in control, but we also want to look at other areas of our life.
Okay.
Our spirituality, our career, our family life, our relationships. And all of those play a part.
We have a graphic right here. That's nice.
Yes, physical activity. So it's not just the food, but it's everything. So as a holistic health coach, I help people identify all areas of their lives that they'd like to address. And when one is out of balance, something else is out of balance as well.
And I like that plate because it incorporates lots of different things in your life. And we talked about this, I think, earlier in the last segment, is that you can't just fix the mindful eating without fixing the other stuff, because you said most likely they probably have the same issues. And so when your clients first see this, what is their reaction? What is the first thing that they tell you?
Well, they don't believe it.
Okay.
Because we're a society of thinking it's the food.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so when we send them off with a little assignment that they decide on what to do and come back with that aha moment, and then we integrate that into their lifestyle, then they really realize that something was off and now they know how to course correct. So I'm not just teaching them one time, I'm teaching them every
Again
time.
and again.
Yeah, something happens, they can change it.
And this is the thing that it's also, a lot of other experts have said in our show is that a lot of people expect this to be an overnight issue. So you come in, you see Melinda, and then, in about 4 days, you'll be cured. And that's, it's so hard to undo the things you've done in your entire life. So what she does is give you tools like this integrative plate to say, I can approach this problem and then have a plan over the course of several weeks and months to solve it. So great advice. When we return, we'll talk to registered dietitian Mitali Kapila, who will show us some of the snacks that we mistakenly take for healthy. Please stay tuned. Well, let me ask you this. So people say, well, this is a very nutritious food called popcorn. It seems light and fluffy. What do you say to that, Mitali?
Yes, it's light and fluffy, but it's also highly processed. Processed means it's got a lot of ingredients that are not good for your body.
Welcome back to the show. Joining us now is registered dietitian and nutrition therapist Mitali Kapila. Now, Mitali is going to teach us all about it. Good to see you again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, one of the things we're talking about is how do we prevent ourselves from just eating mindlessly? I mean, that's the topic today, but how would you recommend we do that?
I think the best way is to be present in the moment and acknowledging your physical hunger and satiety cues. That's very important.
So knowing when she says satiety cues, knowing when you're hungry, knowing the signs that really you need food, because a lot of us just eat, well, it's 12 o'clock, it's time to eat. Ain't always true. What you have to do is, guess what? Your body has some signs when you're hungry. So that's great. And then how about people who want to maintain a healthy diet? They say, I want to have a diet. Instead, we want to maintain a healthy weight, but how do they do that? What are some of the pitfalls and advice you'd give them?
Pitfalls is definitely choosing highly nourishing foods versus junk food like cheese balls or soda or candy, things like that. Choosing foods that are minimally processed that give you big bang for your nutrition. Making sure that you're, distinguishing between whether you're thirsty or hungry.
Correct. Yeah, the thing is that there's so much media exposure of the cheese balls, right? If you guys are watching at home, everywhere you go, you see cheese balls and food that it seems so enticing because they visually
Very
make it.
attractive.
Yeah, and there's a science behind that. Lots of that stuff is made so that you can crave that. And what Vithal is saying is that, listen, do the opposite.
Exactly.
You know, have foods that are more filling,
Exactly.
but more nutritious and not have empty calories. But this is my favorite part because I get to eat now, right? So you guys excited about me eating? So what did you bring for us? All this great stuff.
What we have here, Dr. Nandi, is minimally processed, very easy grab-and-go snacks.
Okay.
That are easy, tasty, and also pack a very good nutrition punch. So, for example, we have...
Well, let me ask you this. So people say, well, this is a very nutritious food called popcorn. It seems light and fluffy. What do you say to that, Pachani?
Yes, it's light and fluffy, but it's also highly processed. Processed means it's got a lot of ingredients that are not good for your body. So you can see here that it's also has a lot of trans fat or hydrogenated fat
Right,
that can
exactly.
create inflammation in your body.
That's an important point because a lot of people think, well, I'm eating popcorn, it's bad because normally people put a bunch of crap in it too, right? Oil and salt, and as you pointed out, not good for inflammation. So this is not a good food, people are watching, right? So it's not just because it's popcorn. So where are the good foods at here?
So we have some good foods, good snacks lined up here as well. I have here a very healthy trail mix.
Let me just make sure that's good for me.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's good. Keep going. I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'll eat.
It's dry roasted nuts, cashews, almonds with dark chocolate chips. So full of antioxidants, fiber, selenium, zinc. So they also keep and tame your sweet tooth. So instead of giving into artificially flavored candy, brightly colored, there's nothing natural in it, gives
Exactly.
you no nutrition. There is a healthy trail mix over here that can also do the same function of taking care of your sweet tooth.
And what about this? What do you have here?
These are roasted pumpkin seeds. So roasted pumpkin seeds instead of this popcorn to snack on. So eating foods that are in season is very important because they have very high nutrition profile. So pumpkin
They're
seeds,
available too, so people can find them.
absolutely. You
Yep.
can make it at home or you can buy it from a store. Roasted pumpkin seeds. Make sure it doesn't have any added sodium.
That's a key point. And so both these things, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but both these foods can have added salt, taking away a lot of the nutritional, advantages that you have. And then if you fry these suckers in a bunch of oil, good night, right? I mean, it's the same thing. So you have to make sure you pick up the label and look at it.
Absolutely. Label reading is the key.
It's huge because you'll say, well, it's the same pumpkin seed, but they'll put it in a bunch of cottonseed oil or something, who knows what, and all of a sudden you get all the fat
Yes.
that this has.
So that's why minimally processed is important. So when you read the label, make sure it is pumpkin seed and nothing else.
And not a bunch of crap. Now, what about this? What you have banana
These
chips
are
here?
plantain chips.
Yep.
So these are roasted plantain chips instead of potato chips, which is a very popular snack. But we can train our kids and adults alike to enjoy something like a plantain chip, which packs
Awesome.
a lot of nutritional advantage versus a potato chip.
They're kind of filling too, aren't they? If you take that.
Absolutely, full of fiber, potassium.
I'm a gastroenterologist. I love fiber. You know why? Because you have good poop. This is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
But we keep going. I digress.
Absolutely. We have here heavily artificially flavored and colored nacho chips versus brown rice cakes with almond butter. Almond butter is a great source of essential fatty acids, keeps you full longer, and great fiber from the brown rice cakes. Nothing artificial about this, and this is full of artificial ingredients.
And look at, I mean, the thing that you have to see is if you're watching at home, how enticing it is. It's colored the right way, and people have a natural reaction. So remember, we train our bodies. One of the things we do with our kids is train them to like this stuff because even if they're whining, try to train them at a young age that this stuff is not what they need, and more foods like this. Now, what do you have over here?
These are our good old fruits and vegetables. So we have broccoli, carrots, grapes, and also hummus as a dip, which is a chickpea blend. And hummus and nut butters are very easy grab-and-go snacks because they are very easily available in single-serve containers as well.
And the thing is that this is very colorful. Kids would take this and they love it because it's such a bright, beautiful, snack. And the broccoli also. My kids will pick broccoli over anything, and my younger son will like grapes. And so again, it's to me about telling them and teaching them at a young age. So Thank you for bringing all this stuff and showing us some tips that'll keep us going. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll answer your questions of how to become more mindful of your eating. Stay with us. I'll keep eating.
What are some healthier options for my daughter's school lunches so that she can stay fuller longer?
Welcome back to our show. Today we've been talking about mindless eating versus mindful eating and learning the difference. Let's get some questions from our studio audience. Yes, ma'am.
What are some healthier options for my daughter's school lunches so that she can stay fuller longer?
It's an important point, because when you have school lunches, often you don't have very many healthy choices at all. It's getting better. Natalia, what do you think about that? What options does she have?
For kids' school lunches, most important thing is that it has to be tasty, it has to look attractive. At the same time, it has to pack the nutritional power that it needs, the kids need to stay full. So it has to be well balanced. Great lean protein to keep fuller longer, complex carbohydrates versus refined, so choose more whole grains versus white bread or white pasta. Fruits and vegetables full of fiber to keep you full, as well as some healthy fats like almond butter or peanut butter to keep those little stomachs from not grumbling. And
that's a great point, is that it has to taste good. The other thing I would say is that, you know what, train your kids. What that means is that at a very early age, my kids know that broccoli is better than other crap that they can eat. So they actually look for broccoli. They like carrots. So it's colorful. So the other thing is that make sure they know and are trained, so when they go to school, they maybe think that the chips are yucky, you know. So you have to try to train them as well. But absolutely, all the things you said were great. Yes, next question.
Hello.
Hi.
What are some healthy snacks that I can take with me when I'm traveling to detour me from the fast foods?
So it's important that, when you're traveling, all you see is one fast food restaurant after another. Melinda, you want to take this? What can she do?
Absolutely. Nuts are a great option as long as you don't have an allergy, and raw nuts specifically without salt. I love the option of fruit as well. So apples are a great thing to pack on a plane and have available, so you're not searching for something unhealthy in an airport, let's say.
Yeah, and it's important what you said about the nuts, because so many nuts have, if you look at them, they have salt and they have a bunch of, fried with, some oil. So you have to look at the content of the food. Even though you think it may be healthy, look at the overall content in the package and read the labels. They're getting better now, but read the labels. You have to flip the thing around and look and see how much fat there is and how much salt. You'd be surprised. So, a great question. Yes, sir, next question.
If I think my partner is mindlessly eating, what are some of the healthy and positive ways I can help them?
Dr. Jill, what do you think about that?
Well, that's a good question, because social support is so important. If somebody wants to make a change, it's really important to have other people around them that are supporting that. So if you want to help your partner, just by being there is helpful. But it's important not to be critical, to make sure you're being positively supportive. It can be helpful to have them recognize the triggers. What is making them mindlessly eat? What is associated with their eating behavior? And when you recognize that there's certain things, certain behaviors they can change, you might want to do that with them. So for example, if you always have dinner on the couch in front of the TV, then you might want to encourage your partner to join you in the kitchen or in the dining room to have your meal, so that you're paying more attention, you're more aware. Or if you're eating your food out of a bag, and instead of putting it on a plate, you'll want to encourage them to put it on a plate. So making some changes, helping your partner make those changes. Also, if you recognize that they're having some emotional difficulties, those difficulties can be related to their mindless eating. So encourage them to talk about whatever they're experiencing, if they're feeling depressed or anxious. And if that doesn't work well, you can always encourage them to go talk to a professional to deal with some of those emotional issues.
And so much of, when we talk about when we have a problem, when you have a partner, whatever you're doing, and if it's a difficult thing, if you have a partner that encourages you, it's so much easier, wouldn't you say? And I think that also you can see it better than they can. You can help them recognize the problem. But tell me, what do you think about that? I mean, having your partner, help you with that. What do you think? How can a partner help, another person that's having these kind of issues?
I think the best thing is to be present in the moment and practice mindfulness, understanding the entire process of the eating, the entire eating process. So cook together and, decide what you're going to eat and eat very healthfully so that you're not filled up and you're not even, drawn towards eating mindlessly. I think if your body is filled up with the right nutrition, then you are not going to be drawn towards eating mindlessly. And don't multitask while you eat. I think that's a very big point, is not multitasking, not engaging yourself in other activities and just focusing on the process of eating and enjoying, and use all your senses to enjoy the meal that's in front of you.
I love what you said about mindfulness, because it lets you then concentrate on what you're doing, and then you recognize that you're actually having this activity of eating. I even we talked about other partners, but even my kids, I have them cook with us. When they cook with us, guess what? They make choices that you make, and all of a sudden that healthy stuff that they're eating, and portion control, I have them make their own plate. I make my 12-year-old say, I want you to make your own plate, so and then she says, she usually gets a much better portion. So I think all those are great. Well, thank you for taking the time to answer those questions. I really appreciate it. Don't go away. When we come back, Partha's Prescription. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. Today we've addressed the causes of mindless eating and how to be mindful of what we eat. What can we take away from today's Partha's Prescriptions? Focus on what you're eating. Buy organic and whole fresh foods. Also, take the time to taste your food. Eat slowly, take small bites, and chew well. Realize if you're eating for a physical craving or an emotional craving. Is your stomach growling? Do you have a headache or difficulty concentrating? Those are a few physical signs of hunger. Now think before you eat. Make a conscious decision whether or not you really want the food. To stay informed about today's topic, learn about healthy living and how to be your own health hero, please visit AskDrNandi.com. Also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram, and join our discussion. Lastly, there's a beautiful word in the Hindi language that literally means the light in me honors the light in you, and that word is namaste. So namaste to each and every one of you. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
So I decided to lose weight. I was 315 pounds. I had to get a bridesmaid's dress tailored, 2 dresses sewn together, and that's what made me start dieting. And I started dieting initially the normal way, but when I found the ketogenic diet, I was able to add a lot of food back into my diet and still lose weight. So it was definitely the most sustainable diet I've ever seen.
As a practicing physician, I wanted to create a place that folks could go to that not only delivers great health information in a way that's understandable and useful, but also share inspirational stories to help us all grow.
People think that once you're adults, you're done learning. You are not. In order to be successful, you have to have an open mind to learn.
Real problems discussed in depth with real solutions. This is the Dr. Nandi Show.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining me today. I'm constantly reminding my patients about the benefits of maintaining an ideal weight for overall good health. But I know that's not always an easy thing to do, right? How do you decide what weight loss method is best for you? On today's show, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of some of today's most popular diet trends: keto, paleo, and intermittent fasting. What works and what does not. Plus, we'll hear some amazing weight loss stories. You don't want to miss this show. We'll be right back.
If you prep and you know exactly what you're gonna eat every day, and you don't have to think about it, and you don't have to make split decisions, and you don't wait till you're starving to pick something up, it sets you up for your win, and you don't even, it makes it easy.
Welcome back, folks. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and today we're talking about diet trends. And my first guest found that the keto diet worked for her. She lost an amazing 135 pounds in 10 months. Yeah, that's right. And now she's a keto coach helping others lose weight. I'd like to welcome Candace Briscoe to the show. Candace, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here.
Of course. So, at your heaviest, how much did you weigh?
My heaviest weight was 315 pounds.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's look at some old photos. That's you right there, huh?
Yeah.
Is that at your heaviest, or?
Yeah, right around my heaviest. Probably about 310 right there.
And most of my patients, most folks who says this is it, and something triggers them. What was your breaking point?
Believe it or not, it was a bridesmaid's dress. I was asked to be in a wedding. That's the trip, actually. Yeah. I got a size 14 dress, thinking I would be able to drop some weight before the wedding. I go to the seamstress to see how it fits, and she literally tells me that I have to buy another size 14 dress so she can sew the two of them together.
Whoa.
Right. And so, of course, I was devastated and embarrassed and alone. So I went to the wedding, enjoyed myself, but when I got home, I hit the ground running and never looked back.
And when you say hit the ground running, what did you do?
I started dieting immediately. But dieting in the only way I knew how at the time, low fat, low calorie, low carbs. And it was pretty difficult for me. I lost a significant amount of weight, maybe like 30 pounds in the first month, but I felt so deprived.
Couldn't sustain it.
Yeah. It's never been sustainable for me. I've been big and up and down trying different things, but nothing has ever been sustainable.
And even as a child, do you remember as a kid, were you a bigger kid?
Well, not really, because I was athletic. So even though I never controlled my eating because I was an athlete, I never had to. So when I stopped playing sports, the weight ballooned.
Immediately, because you didn't change your
Right.
eating habits. This happens a lot for folks. And then how did you figure out the keto diet, or how were you introduced to it?
Actually, a coworker of mine, a fellow nurse, introduced me to it because I was complaining at work about being starving. And she was like, check this out, try it. And I went home and Googled, and I was like, well, with the keto diet, I actually get to add things back into my diet that I had removed, like cheese and fried foods and certain things that I really enjoyed, and it just seemed less restrictive. So I tried it. And the first week, I lost 11 pounds immediately.
Wow. And 11 pounds?
11 pounds.
And then what happened?
The weight continued to drop.
And did you feel deprived like you were before?
Never.
Not at all?
I never feel deprived anymore.
Yeah, and so now when you noticed that, how did you then transition to being a keto coach?
It kind of really happened organically. It got to the point where so many people were asking for my help that.
Because they were seeing you're dramatically changed.
You gotta imagine, I'm a registered nurse and I'm around all these people and I've lost this weight publicly and everybody wants to try it. And it just got to the point where people needed me. And I saw it, and it felt so good to help somebody that was in the same spot.
And how did it make you feel? Physically, you could see the difference. Emotionally, tell me how it made you feel.
Oh, it was incredibly freeing, especially the coaching side of it. Because to be able to motivate and encourage others, because I didn't have that. I was alone in my journey, and I was isolated and depressed and dealing with a lot of grief and embarrassment. To be able to help people and know that they're not alone, that they don't have to be alone in this journey.
And how much is that support important for folks who are watching? They don't really know what to do with any kind of a food plan or exercise. How important is that?
A food plan is the best thing you can do for yourself because it sets you up for a win. If you don't have to think, if you prep and you know exactly what you're gonna eat every day and you don't have to think about it and you don't have to make split decisions and you don't wait till you're starving to pick something up, it sets you up for your win and you don't even, it makes it easy. It makes it like clockwork.
It's almost, and there's a woman named Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson who talks about this, and she says automate your diet, because if you try it exactly what you said, if you try to make those split decisions, you often make the wrong one, right? You get a call, let's say your husband, wife, significant other, or somebody calls you up and says, what's for dinner? And you're passing by a pizza place. What are you going to do? You're going to pick that pizza up. And imagine your whole life has been, until this point, just eating kind of on the go quickly. So I tell people, I give them this analogy. We've almost been addicted to these kinds of foods, simple carbohydrates, all this processed foods. And if you get addicted to that, and everywhere you go, there is a fast food restaurant. Imagine if you were a porn addict, right? So work with me on this. If you're a porn addict, and every corner there was a porn shop, you would never ever be able to get it, right? So if you automate your life, so you don't have to think about those split decisions, and you know what you're going to eat, and you organize it and have a coach, you can really make a good decision. Now, thank you for showing us all that. You're going to stick around, right, and show us some food. This is going to be fun. She's going to show you what she eats to lose all that weight and keeping it off. So that's coming up after the break. Please stay with us.
Keto diet is a low-carb, high-fat, moderate protein diet. So your body goes from using carbohydrates for energy to using your own fat for energy. And the results are amazing. Not only do you lose weight, but there is a mental clarity, there is an energy that comes with it.
Welcome back, and I'm here with Candace Briscoe, and who lost 135 pounds in the keto diet. You met her just a few minutes ago. She's now a keto coach, and she's going to show us some of the foods that are incorporated in her diet. First of all, Candace, before you go to the food, what's the concept? Because we didn't really talk about it, because people may know about it, but what's the concept of the keto diet?
Keto diet is a low-carb, high-fat, moderate protein diet. So your body goes from using carbohydrates for energy to using your own fat for energy. And the results are amazing. Not only do you lose weight, but there is a mental clarity, there is an energy that comes with it. People start keto to lose weight, people stay keto because of how great you feel.
Awesome. So you've got some examples of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Let's do it.
Yeah, this is a typical day for a beginning keto client. I like to keep it pretty simple to help them transition as easily as possible. So for breakfast, we've got some eggs, a half of an avocado, and some bacon. And the goal in this is to consume enough fat to be satiated from meal to meal without having a snack in between.
And for those who are, for example, vegetarian, you don't have to have the bacon if you don't need to. The idea is that she's got healthy fat here, and the eggs are a great source of it. Bacon you can have. The only concept is you can have this, but if you have it every day, there are patients who do have heart disease and cardiac disease that you don't want to have saturated fat all the time. So good fat's great, and if you're vegetarian, you don't need to have the bacon, but you can. And then you have lunch here?
Yeah, we have a Caesar salad, a little bit of Parmesan sauce, a couple tablespoons of Caesar.
That's great. And the concept here is also, notice there are carbohydrates here, but they're complex. It's very important to understand these simple carbohydrates that she's given up. One thing but you may have noticed, there's no donut on here, right?
No
There's
donuts.
no piece of white bread on here. There's no jelly and all this stuff. It's the simple carbohydrates that kill you. You talk about the mental clarity she's talking about. When you have simple carbohydrates, they clog your brain up. Why?
Absolutely.
Because of the gut health. When you have those trillions of bugs, the microbiome, they get completely obliterated by simple carbohydrates. But you have to understand, you have to eat cleaner too. You can't, people who eat and they eat bad food, even if it's fat, you have bad fats and not clean fats that will also alter your microbiome. And this is great stuff. She's got lettuce, she got a little bit of cheese, and then she's got some chicken. That'll do you really well. And then dinner.
We got a steak, around 6 ounces, some sauteed spinach, and a tablespoon of butter.
And so notice she doesn't have 4 tablespoons of butter, right? You see those folks, they say, excuse me, waiter, I need another whole container of butter to slather on. So in moderation, you can have butter, and it's perfect. But the quantity, if you have 4, 5, 6 tablespoons of butter, it's great. And this is a nice piece of meat, right? You guys all would eat that, right? So I would also say, the only thing I would say is that I would not eat this every single day. I would put a piece of salmon on there, maybe every other day, so that you don't get the saturated fats. One of the one of the mistakes and misnomers that people have is we know about bad carbs, but bad fats have what's called omega-6. So omega-6 acids can inflame the gut. When it inflames the gut, begins inflammation. Over time, you may be thinner, but what happens is that the inside of your body is not doing well. And you've done incredibly well in keeping up with it. What do you miss the most? I know what my assistant director misses the most. He talks about a plain donut. But what do you miss the most?
A good old peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh, yes.
Honestly.
Look at you guys like, oh.
Honestly.
Yeah, so, you know, and when you have that craving, this is the thing that it's so important is when you have that craving, how do you get past that?
Well, this is the thing. With other diets, I have always had major cravings. With keto, I don't have those cravings. It is not a physical craving. It's just the thought, like, oh, I like that, but I don't physically want it anymore.
And it's because you've changed your diet so much. So she said a very important thing. It's up here. Just so you know, when you have, for example, I'll just not say a peanut butter jelly sandwich, but a donut, right? It goes into your brain and then activates the dopamine system. The dopamine system is the same one that also is stimulated by something called crack cocaine. That sound familiar? So it's the same system. So people who eat that all the time have that craving in the mind. And once you stop that whole process, you don't deplete that dopamine. When you're using dopamine all the time, the average American diet, right? Eating a big bun full of stuff and then eating a lot of simple carbohydrates, you're continually getting that dopamine stimulated. It depletes it, and your body says, I want more. Just like a crack addict. I want more crack. And then you become automated. You pass by a fast food restaurant, it takes everything in your life to get not to stop it. So that's the problem. And what she's done is, the other thing she told us on the last segment was that she said, I automate my life. So you get this pre-prepared and you already know you're going to eat this. So there's no decision making because your willpower, you're great, but most people that are watching, and some of you, your willpower fails. And so if you automate your life, just like brushing your teeth, I'm going to brush it in the morning, brush it at night, these are my meals, it really fails. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All the way from the Big Easy. All right, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break. Coming up, we'll talk about dieting and maintaining good health. Please stay right here.
Well, there are 3 diets that are making the rounds: keto, paleo, and intermittent fasting. All of them can be made healthy, but all of them can be made unhealthy.
Hey, welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and thanks for staying with us, by the way. And today we're helping you decide if the latest diet trends are a good option for you. My next guest I'm really excited about is the Emeritus Chief Wellness Officer at the Cleveland Clinic and a New York Times bestselling author. Please welcome, big round of applause for Dr. Michael Roizen. Such a pleasure, sir.
My privilege. Thank you.
So let's start off with your take on all these. There's always a diet. Every year there's a new one. What's your take on the new diets that are out there right now?
Well, there are 3 diets that are making the rounds: keto, paleo, and intermittent fasting. All of them can be made healthy, but all of them can be made unhealthy. So you say it best, it's what's inside that counts. It's not just how you look. And so the key to diets are, you want to have food that is like a marriage. So you want to love the food you eat, but you want it to love you back.
I love that.
So you may love bacon fried French fries, right? Tastes great, but they're going to kill you. Wrong thing to have.
Right? See, you guys are like, no, wrong thing to have. You heard that? Yes.
Yeah. So what you want to do, whether it's paleo or keto or intermittent fasting, all can be made healthy. Now, we have the best data on long-term health with intermittent fasting,
Yes.
and let's get to that in a second. But paleo, so if you have healthy fats, healthy protein, and complex carbs, you can make that healthy. Some of the healthiest carbs we know are the ancient grains, so you can do that. With paleo, with keto, you can have salmon, as you say, rather than steak, and you can have really healthy protein. Cut out the egg yolks, cut out the cheese, cut out the steak, and you really can make it healthy for your microbiome. So one of the things that you've said a lot about, and your audience should really thank you, is how the microbiome changes with the food you eat. So egg yolks and steak and red meat and processed red meat and even cheese change the microbiome to produce inflammatory mediators, trimethylamine, which gets in and kills you slowly. Causes arterial disease, causes strokes, causes kidney failure, causes mental dysfunction, causes your immune system to not be able to fight cancer. Shouldn't have those. But on the other hand, you can make that diet absolutely healthy by having such things as salmon and nuts.
And that's why I was so excited about having Dr. Roizen. See what I'm talking about? He's got a big brain, guys. Come on. Yeah, he does. You know, you make it simple. But here's the thing, though. You know, you have to understand, people are watching. This is not just a conceptual argument. This is not something that we're theoretically making up. As we're talking, a woman dies of a heart attack every minute in the United States, dies of a heart attack. So when you have that bacon and that big piece of steak every single day, you may be thin on the outside, but inside, it's being ravaged. We're talking about you're getting, tanks and weaponry that are just being unleashed in your body. So he's absolutely right. So you created a real age concept and diet. Tell me how that works.
So real age is the actual age of your body as opposed to your calendar age.
Correct.
And there are 157 things that change your rate of aging for women, 156 for men. And you can figure out which ones you want to do. And there really are 6, we call it 6+2 important ones. At the Cleveland Clinic, we actually pay our employees and their dependents to get there, and they've reduced their costs over $150 million a year by doing this. So you did it for the country. You could pay everyone on Medicare $2,000 a year. That would increase their take-home pay. But in addition, you decrease the federal budget by $400 billion if the same percentages did it. And it's basically by choosing to eat and exercise, manage stress, most important, avoid toxins, keep your blood pressure and LDL normal and your body mass normal. But those things, those 6 big ones, make your real age over 12 years younger. So if you're 65, you're really 53 from a risk standpoint of disability and dying. So the key in real age, and I think it's 69 million people have now taken the real age test, 45 million, it's a free test at realage.com. So anyone can do it, come back and do it repeatedly and make themselves younger. My guess is that you're at least 10 years younger than your calendar age physiologically. If we did that for the whole country, we would not have a budget problem, and you'd actually save the world.
You're a good man. And so what he's saying is really, really important, is that if you do something, and I'll just, we're talking about diets, of course, and all the diets that could work in your food plan, but something extraordinary you said was the stress. We are being bombarded by toxins, and we know about the environment, we know about the pesticides, but the emotional toxicity is tremendous. So what I'm talking about is that, the person that upset you by giving you, which finger in traffic, that really got you all revved up, your boss yelling at you, your wife told you something you didn't like. I mean, if that happens once in a while, it's all right, but it happens thousands upon thousands of times a day, and that ravages your body. Really important stuff, Dr. Roizen. Thank you so much.
Let me make another comment on that, because what I saw you doing before we went on is you were meditating or deep breathing. I couldn't tell which.
Yes.
But you actually have been on the show for a long time. This takes a lot of work for you and all the crew. And so it's got to be stressful. Stress isn't the event, but it's your reaction to it. And you were meditating, so you were able to do the segment and do it beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Take a break. When we come back, we'll meet a woman who lost 65 pounds while still enjoying her foods that she likes, including pizza and ice cream. This should be interesting. Her story when we come back.
I went without carbs for 24 weeks. Like literally under 10 a day for 24 weeks. I lost weight, but then as soon as my body started shutting itself down, I couldn't remember my phone number. Like I would lay on the couch and watch SpongeBob and eat sugar-free Jell-O. Like that's what my life looked like.
You're back on the Dr. Nandi Show. For many people, the most difficult part of losing weight is not gaining it back. Now, my next guest lost 65 pounds in 7 months. Amazing, right? And she kept it off for 7 years, and she did it without giving up the food she loves, like pizza and ice cream. So I gotta hear this. Please welcome Keelan Poulin, founder of Lady Boss, a weight loss system for women. Keelan, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. It's a pleasure. So you did this by not giving up any foods. Let's look at some pictures here, first of all. And so you did this all, and you didn't give up any of the foods you love. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so I was in this constant, I was like the typical average woman. I wanted to lose weight. I felt uncomfortable in my skin. I hated putting on clothes. I wore like sweatpants and t-shirts every day because I was so uncomfortable, even looking in the mirror.
You're hiding.
Yes, exactly, hiding. And I did every single diet. Anything that hit new, that said new on the shelf, I was like, I gotta snatch that up. I gotta have it. I gotta try it. I need to get this weight off.
How many diets did you try?
Oh my gosh, it had to have been like 20.
More than 20?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like anything that came out.
What is the craziest diet that you've had?
I went without carbs for 24 weeks. Like literally under 10 a day for 24 weeks. I lost weight, but then as soon as my body started shutting itself down, I couldn't remember my phone number. Like I would lay on the couch and watch SpongeBob and eat sugar-free Jell-O. Like that's what my life looked like. And one day I said, I can't do this anymore. I have to work, right? I have to have relationships. And I literally just started putting complex carbs back in my diet, and I ballooned up. I gained 40 pounds back in 6 weeks. Everyone thought I was pregnant, and that was the last time I said, I'm not doing any more of this fad stuff. I'm not doing any more of this trend stuff. I'm gonna have a healthy lifestyle. I'm gonna live it the right way, do it the right way, and that's what helped me lose the 65 pounds and keep it off for the last 7 years.
And so your aha moment was at that time when you were watching SpongeBob, right? You're like, this is it, right? And so you didn't want to do this again. And then where did you find the techniques? How did you find the techniques for you that worked?
Yeah, so for me, it was like, I did what every woman does. I go to Google and I'm like, Dr. Google, what should I do, right? And after just seeing everything, I just said, you know what, there's so many diet trends out there, including ones that, people nowadays, they'll say, oh, sit out in the sun and just look at the sun and breathe air and don't eat anything and you'll lose weight. And that's exactly my point is you can lose weight doing almost anything, but does it mean it's healthy for you? Absolutely not. So I just looked at the basics and said, our body is smart. It is way smarter than I am. And it needs macronutrients. It needs its complex carbs. It needs good proteins. It needs healthy fats. What if I just did what the basics were? What if I just move my body, eat healthy, and be consistent? And if you do that, you will get the results. And yes, it might not be as fast as some of the fad diets out there, but you will have it long term. So you can get out of this cycle of constantly just, ragging yourself of losing weight and putting it back on.
Lady Boss,
yes.
Boom. Can you hear her, guys? I mean, this is amazing stuff. So you're absolutely right. If we had more folks in America talk like you, it'd be fantastic. And what you said was absolutely true, that you just do the basics that we've done for 1,000 years, right? And they can work. The Lady Boss formula, tell me about that. What is the Lady Boss formula?
Yeah, so it's basically fitness plus nutrition times accountability. So that's accountability is the piece. As we all know, I need to move my body, I need to exercise, right? We all know I need to eat healthy, but having the accountability piece where you can be in a community of other people alongside of you doing it with you, that's really the piece, because I felt so much resistance when I was trying to lose weight myself. Everyone around me, the closest people to me, were like, what do you mean you're trying to lose weight? Don't you want these nachos? What do you mean you're not gonna go out for drinks with me?
Alone,
yes, exactly, you feel alone. And so when you have that accountability and you have a community that you can work with and lose weight together, or even just get healthy together, when you get around like-minded people, you feel like you can do it and that you can accomplish
And one
your
of
goal.
the biggest problems with not having a tribe, so what she's created with this Lady Boss system is that you have a tribe. When you have a tribe, your cortisol levels go down. We know that the stress in your body goes down, we call fight or flight. Yeah. Why that's important is because it causes inflammation. It doesn't allow you to be able to lose the weight. And I've been talking about microbiome forever, and microbiome also changes when you have a tribe. We've talked about a lot of things on this show. show. But one of the things we're talking about now is tribe, and having a group of people that stand by you like she's created is phenomenal. Real quick, you have a book called, I love the title, Big Fat Lies.
Yes.
Tell me about the Big Fat Lies.
Yeah, so I wrote a book. I just felt so lost in the beginning when I was trying to lose weight, and I'd done everything, and I was just the person. I was like, I don't know where to start or what to do. I don't know what's truth from marketing schemes, from sales copy, like what is all of this stuff and what is actually true. And so through my own journey, I kind of debunked all of the lies about weight loss, and there's 13 in that book. And so just like debunking that, carbs aren't bad for you, and that
correct.
Right, healthy, like fats don't make you fat, they make you fit, right? Having healthy fats, and just going through and debunking all the lies that I thought were true at the time, because I thought having a chicken sandwich from McDonald's was healthy, like back in the day. That's what I thought eating healthy was. So just
and
really.
a lot of people do. We laugh, but a lot of people do. Thank you for writing the book, because people need to know about the Big Fat Lies. And here's the thing: you need to know to debunk the lies so you can have a sustainable diet. There'll be a lot of people that tell you that this diet or that diet works. It'll be temporary. Even if it lasts for more than a year or two, what's going on inside your body that you can't see. By the way, thin people get heart attacks. Thin people can also get what? Autoimmune disease. And thin people can die from having the wrong nutrition. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I really appreciate it. Love your style and your enthusiasm and your shoes. You got to get a shot of her shoes. So I'll take a break. When we come back, a functional medicine approach to dieting. Stay right here.
Even eating broccoli every day, your body can create food intolerance to that item, and an item that is previously healthy becomes unhealthy for your body.
Welcome back. You are watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and losing weight is really much more than just picking a diet and trying to stick to it. My next guest is a functional medicine nurse practitioner, and she has a different approach to losing weight in a healthy manner. Please welcome Maggie Berghoff to the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, of course. And Maggie, what the heck is functional medicine? So people are watching like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, so essentially I've combined my practice of traditional medicine with that of more a natural, deep root cause approach to healing the body. So we're looking deeper into the body, really getting to know what's going on inside of you so that we can curate a perfect plan for your healing process.
That's awesome. So, the idea is that when we went to medical school, we were told, okay, so somebody comes in with this problem, you take this medicine or this procedure and you fix it. That's traditionally been what medical training has been about, right? And I'm sure the same way for you. This is a little different. This is going to the root cause and saying, let's find out what causes things and let's go backwards. Yeah, of course, we want to fix what's going on now, but let's go backwards and see what actually happened. So I always, I give the comparison, looking at a city that's been bombed, not just saying, okay, let's rebuild it, but let's say what bombed the city in the first place. Really different concept. And we're talking about, diets and weight loss nowadays. Lots of fad, kind of trendy diets. What are your thoughts on those diets from a functional medicine standpoint?
Yeah, so from a functional medicine standpoint, they don't quite work. You may lose weight for a couple of weeks, feel a little bit better, but eventually the body will regain that weight. You'll start feeling bad again. And since we never resolved the reason why you had excess weight in the first place, you will likely be burying some things that really need addressed, like maybe hormone imbalances, a gut dysfunction, or other such types of conditions.
And super important. I think that the message is that, everybody talks about the shell, right? So people look and say, look, I've lost this much weight, this many inches, et cetera, and they're happy about it. But what Maggie's talking about is that, listen, you know what? There's something underlying that's going on. Even if you do lose the weight, it doesn't address the root cause of what caused the weight gain. But the weight gain, to me, is just like everything else, a symptom of something else. And so what do you recommend the first step when people want to lose weight? I like to say when they want a healthy weight and then stay at that weight. What are the first steps that you recommend for your patients?
Well, the first thing I recommend is to get some testing done to understand what's going on inside of your body. We don't know, and even as practitioners, we can't see what is going on inside in your biochemistry. So we're getting things like food intolerance, nutrient panels, a gut health assessment, exact data to know how to heal your imbalances, and then typically the weight will start to just fall off naturally. The body wants to heal itself.
That's an amazing statement. You know, the body wants to heal itself. I often tell my patients, every cell in your body has really one goal. It's to help you thrive and help you survive. And so all you have to do is really get out of its way, right? We've introduced so many things that the body cannot handle. So we're talking about environmental toxins, foods that are terrible, you know, these little devices that we carry all around us, those nice little phones that you got your head looking down at, even while you're probably watching the show, all those things can really play a difference. But let's talk about diet. All these fad diet trends, and I'm calling it fad because tomorrow they may not be there. We're talking about keto, we're talking about paleo, we're talking about intermittent fasting. Talk to us about those diets and why you think they're not effective.
Yeah, so the diet that's right for you is the one that addresses your internal imbalances. I say that over and over and over again.
Yes.
And the reason why these trendy diets are not effective is because it could be causing your body more damage, which in turn is going to cause more symptoms down the road, just covering them up, like you said, at first, possibly. I've had people also come to me who actually got worse following these diets initially, right off the bat.
Yeah, and so we talk about, there's a whole trend on low carbs, and it's a really tough thing for people to understand. Low carbs, the bad carbs, the simple carbs, right? The simple sugars. If you look in the back of a package, you'll see the added sugars. So an apple has carbohydrates, very different from the jelly bean or the piece of candy or the white bread. So the white bread, the simple carbohydrates, is very different from the complex carbohydrates in fruits and vegetables. And it's really being, like, you just have to go low carb and you'll do well. And people do lose weight. I'm not going to lie to you. People do lose weight. But what's happening on the inside, and this is what Maggie specializes in, your gut gets inflamed. And that inflammation can lead to worse health problems over time. So you can't have a steak every single night and think nothing's going to happen. If you have grass-fed beef and you eat small portions intermittently, it's okay, but it doesn't happen. What about women and hormones? These diets and women following them, do you see some problems with that?
Yeah, I do. Chronic dieting and then ending up binge eating or having some kind of eating disorder really imbalances their hormones, their gut health, like you said, microbiome, and also when women and men are eating the same foods every day following a diet. So like you said, eating that steak every day or even eating broccoli every day, your body can create food intolerance to that item, and an item that is previously healthy becomes unhealthy for your body because it inflames to that item.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I mean, the only caveat I'll say is that it will be less problematic to eat broccoli than eating a steak, but she's right. Anything in super excess can be problematic for people. There are people who've eaten salmon every single day and then have had, toxicity, for example, for metals, and so you have to really, the key is that it's bio-individual. And when she talked about getting your blood test, getting your profile, making it individual, and she said a very interesting and amazing statement, the diet or the food plan that's the best for you is the one that's custom made for you and works. It may not be that all those, you may see all the social media Instagram stars, they see that they did this and they're super thin and they look great in this little piece of cloth that they have on, right? Yeah. And you know what I'm talking about. You look at that and go, wow, how do I look like that? So that's not the whole story. Inside, your arteries may be getting clogged, your gut may be getting inflamed. So great stuff. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll take your questions for our guests. Please don't go away.
My opinion is that juicing is okay. Don't juice all day, every day. And also don't juice the same things each time you're juicing. You want a varied and diverse diet to establish your microbiome, to have a healthy gut. But in general, juicing is fine for my average client. Now, of course, that depends on what's going on in your body. Do you have autoimmune disease? Is there something else that we need to be concerned about?
We're back with the Dr. Nandi Show, and we have all of our guests back to answer questions from social media about diet trends. So let's go to our first question. Robert from, I believe it was New Orleans, that asked the question. I'll give this to you, Dr. Roizen. The sugar in fruits, should I worry about that? Because I've heard that sugar is bad, but sugar in fruits, are those bad for me? Is what he's asking.
Eventually we will know how to answer that question. That is, we'll have a glucose monitor, and since it is sugar that is in blood that's bad, that's the problem. So far, where we are is most of the sugar in fruit, which is fructose from fruit, is bound to fiber and other things and doesn't get absorbed fast, so you don't have to worry about getting it fast. Now, a couple exceptions. If you have fruit juices, there you absorb that fast. And the other one seems to be some of the fruit that has really high sugar, such as grapes. You have a bunch of grapes at once, that raises your blood sugar too much. So we don't have a firm answer, but basically, if you're having apples or pears, feel free.
Absolutely, and so Dr. Rosen makes an important point. So there's multiple things about sugar. First of all, everybody's saying sugar is bad, but there's different types of sugar. There's simple carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, and the sugar in fruit is complex and it's surrounded by fiber. Why is that important? It's absorbed slower. Insulin doesn't go up as quickly, so you don't get the spikes that you do with sugar that go up with if you eat a piece of candy or just plain sugar. So that's the difference, and we now know that when you have multiple spikes of insulin, multiple levels of sugar going up quickly, we can increase inflammation. And we increase inflammation, diseases like diabetes, diseases like we talk about the metabolic syndrome, all are associated with it. It's all bad stuff. So go ahead and eat an apple and then stay away from the two of us, right? Because one apple a day keeps you away from the both of us, which is a good thing, except for this show. So I've got one more question here. And this is a young lady, she's from New Orleans, and she's asking a question about, is there a problem or specific problems with women and dieting? I'm gonna give you that. Women and dieting, are they having specific problems?
I was the girl who would start one thing, fall off, quit, start the next thing, right? And it's that cycle and that obsession with the scale that's really been harming women in the way that we see ourselves. And once you throw away the scale because it'll lie to you, throw away that scale, eat healthy, be consistent, and we gotta stop this constant cycle of just on to the next thing.
Last question, and I'll give this to you, Maggie, and this comes from a gentleman all the way in New York City, and talking about juicing, and how is juicing beneficial for his health, because he's heard pros and cons about juicing. What's your opinion when you talk to your patients about juicing?
Yeah, my opinion is that juicing is okay. Don't juice all day, every day. And also don't juice the same things each time you're juicing. You want a varied and diverse diet to establish your microbiome, to have a healthy gut. But in general, juicing is fine for my average client. Now, of course, that depends on what's going on in your body. Do you have autoimmune disease? Is there something else that we need to be concerned about? But in general, I think it's a good habit to establish.
You take out the fiber and juice, because lots of people juice and remove the fiber. And when you do that, you're really harming your microbiome. And who cares, right? People say, right, Maggie, who cares about those trillion bugs? Here's the reason why. One cell layer thick, poop here, blood here. When you don't have the right microbiome, you can have little tiny openings. We call that, in functional medicine, leaky gut. In gastroenterology, we call it gut permeability, intestinal permeability. That begins inflammation. You can't have a healthy life. You can't have a healthy weight. So you may lose this shell, but inside you're not as healthy. Thank you so much for taking those questions and taking the time to answer them. I really appreciate it. We have to take a break. When we come back, Partha's Prescriptions. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. And today we've learned a lot about losing weight and doing it in a healthy manner. So here are my Partha's prescriptions. First of all, any diet you choose should be nutritious, safe, effective, and easy to follow. And diets, they should be tailored to your specific health needs. Otherwise, you won't get the results or the weight won't stay off. If done correctly, intermittent fasting can speed up weight loss, slow the aging process, regenerate stem cells, and reduce inflammation in the body. A good diet is like a good marriage, right? Eat the foods that love you back. Avoid simple sugars and carbohydrates, added syrups, and saturated fat. And finally, don't give up if you gain back a few pounds. Every day you wake up is just another chance to start over. To stay informed about today's topic, learn about healthy living, and how to become your own health hero, please visit me at AskDrNandi.com. Also, I would love to hear from you. Be sure to search Facebook for Partha Nandi, MD, and join the Health Hero community. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, and join the discussion there. Lastly, there's a beautiful word in the Hindi language that literally means the light in me honors the light in you, and that word is namaste. So namaste to each and every one of you. I thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. My goal today is to open your eyes and teach you to pay attention to what you're putting in your body on a daily basis. Because after all, we are what we eat. We're also going to talk about how we can truly reverse the damages we've caused to our bodies by consuming toxic foods. Would you believe that the average American eats 61 pounds of refined sugar each year, including 25 pounds of candy? Wow. I live and practice in Detroit, and I believe our city and the people that live here represent the best of America. I wanted to create a place that folks can go to that not only delivers health information, but also helps us share inspirational stories to help all of us grow, with real problems discussed in depth with real solutions. You are the most important person. You're the patient. This is Ask Dr. Nandi. Welcome, thanks for that warm applause, I appreciate it. Today, it's all about nutrition, and I want to start by testing your knowledge in the subject. So I have a poll, you guys ready? All right, by show of hands, who thinks a tomato is a vegetable? All right, who thinks it's a fruit? Nice, you got a smart audience. Okay, second, two choices. How many servings of vegetables do you need a day? The first choice is 6 to 11. Next one is 3 to 5. Look at you guys. Nice. Very nice. Now, joining us to answer those kind of questions and more is 3-time New York Times best-selling author Cynthia Sass. Please welcome her.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Her latest book is called Sass Yourself Slim. So go out there and get it today after the show, and you'll get lots of information. Now, Cynthia has a master's in both nutrition as well as public health. So you're really, that means you're really smart.
Thank you.
And she's currently the sports nutrition consultant for the New York Rangers and the Tampa Bay Rays. So Cynthia, lots going on. You know, everybody's got all these questions on nutrition, and these guys are really, really smart. You know, one of the things we talk about is that what about the hidden sugars in food? You know, when you're thinking about at home, you know, bread, crackers, and cereal. What's your opinion on having, you know, those three choices, the hidden sugars? Because it may not seem like any of those are really super sweet sometimes,
That's right.
But what about the hidden sugars? What's going on there?
We're kind of drowning in sugar because so many foods are sweetened with what we call added sugar, which means it was added to the food by the manufacturer. And it lurks in things like tomato sauce, salsa, things that like you said, you don't even think of them as being sweet. But most of us are taking in so much more sugar than we think we are, and it's really leading to a lot of side effects that we don't want.
What about bread or cereal? I mean, where are the hidden sugars? Because a lot of people say, well, you know, for example, even crackers, they're not really sweet. Where are the hidden sugars in those?
They're in so many foods. I think it's obvious that things like candy and cookies and sweets have sugar in them, but you'll find sugar in things like salad dressing, salsa, tomato sauce, even foods, like you said, that don't seem sweet. But when you actually read the ingredient list, you'll find those hidden sugars. So you need to become a bit of a sugar sleuth to scope those out, because we're taking in far more sugar than most of us think we are, and it's leading to some unwanted side effects. So one of the most important things you can do for your health, as well as for your waistline, is to reduce your consumption of those added sugars. So that's where the manufacturer has put sugar into the product. Now you will find, if you look at, for example, let's say salsa side by side, you might find that one has added sugar, another one doesn't have sugar in the ingredients. And if you've become very accustomed to eating foods that are sweetened with this added sugar, and then you switch to a food that
big
has
difference, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's a big difference.
Yeah.
And your taste buds though will adjust is the good news. A lot of people tell
Not
me
immediately though, right?
Not
It takes a
it
little
takes
time.
a few days.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
that first, second day you're going to think, ugh, this is bland. I don't know if I like this. But by the third, fourth day you get used to it. And then what I find for many of my clients is that they prefer the less sweetened or unsweetened version.
Over time,
And
huh?
when they go back to the sweetened version, they think, oh, this is, I don't even like this. I can't even believe I used to eat this. So give yourself time to adjust to that. But reducing your intake of added sugar, which is sugar added to the food by the manufacturer to sweeten it, to make it taste better, is one of the most important things that you can do for your health, because it's tied to so many health risks. And we're kind of drowning in sugar. We're taking in so much more than we think we are.
And then the fat-free trick, that you take out the fat and put a ton of sugar in. But how do you
Right.
become a sugar sleuth? Like you say, she's a professional, but what about folks that are here or at home? How do they become a sugar sleuth?
The number one thing you can do is start reading the ingredient list first and foremost. So I take a lot of my clients to the grocery store. We walk the aisles together.
Oh, good.
We pick up products. And I say, before you look at calories, fat, sugar, anything, before you look at the grams, the numbers, look at the ingredients. It's the only way you really know what's in a food and if it deserves a place in your grocery
And
cart
what should
or
they
not.
look in the ingredients? Because people don't even know what to read and what to find.
Right. So first of all, one thing to know is that the higher up something is in the ingredient list, the more of the product comes from that ingredient.
Perfect.
So if you're looking at something like cereal and you see that the second ingredient is sugar, or maybe brown sugar or corn syrup or something like, usually if it has an OSE at the end, glucose, something like that, fructose, you know that that's an added sugar. And so the higher up it is, the more sugar per bite you're getting when you eat that food.
That's a good, so really important information. Look at the ingredient list, but something that may not be obvious, the higher up in the list it is, that the more sugar it has. We have to take a quick break. When we live in an age when we're overloaded with information, and as a result, it's hard to know what's fiction and what's fact. When we come back, Cynthia explores some common misconceptions about nutrition. Stay with us.
The amount of sugar in a 12-ounce portion of lemonade, 21 cubes of sugar.
Wow.
In this one, and a typical American diet contains about 12 ounces of a sweetened beverage every single day.
Welcome back. Today, it's all about nutrition. I'm here now with nutritionist and 3-time New York bestselling author Cynthia Sass. Cynthia's latest book is called Sass Yourself Slim. Now, there's a lot of food myths out there. People think all kinds of crazy things. Let me ask you guys, does microwaving, do you think, zap nutrients? Show of hands. Okay. So what do you think, Cynthia? Does microwaving really take out all your nutrients?
It doesn't take out all the nutrients. Any form of cooking is going to destroy some nutrients, but there is some truth to this. There was one study that showed that when they looked at antioxidant levels in broccoli, microwaving it reduced the levels by 97% versus just 11% by steaming. So I think we should be eating some vegetables raw, some vegetables steamed, some sauteed, roasted, grilled. But the most important thing is just eating your vegetables. So I would rather see someone eat them in the microwave than not eat them at all. But if you can, use your microwave minimally. One of the reasons that I get concerned about microwaves too is because when you put food in the microwave, if the container has some chemicals that can leach into the food, that can pose a health risk as well.
That's important. Do we know what's going on with microwave energy that's destroying these antioxidants? Does anybody know what's going on?
You know what? It heats the food to a very high temperature.
And so it destroys some of those particles and enzymes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Another food myth, now I'll ask you guys. Eating late at night makes you fat. Cynthia, so all I have to do is eat a lot during the day and you should be fine?
You know sumo wrestlers?
Yes.
They want to be very large, right?
Yes.
Their strategy, don't eat all day, eat a lot at night, then go to bed. That's how they purposefully gain weight. It makes sense because we're not very active at night. So if we take in all of our food at night, we can't retroactively burn it, when we needed it earlier in the day. When we eat it at night, we can't do that. So we're more likely to store it and kind of sock it away in our fat cells. So we should be eating larger meals when we're more active, less at night when we're less active, and most of us are flipping that. So definitely try to curb your portion sizes in the evening.
And try to just have balanced meals, right?
Absolutely.
What about this myth? all carbs are bad and carbs make you fat. We got a smart audience here. Nobody told me this is a smart audience.
You are right. Not all carbs are created equal, right? We want carbs from things like vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and we really want to also focus on portion size, because even if you're eating oatmeal with fruit and smoothies, if you're taking in more than your body can burn or use, you're going to have a surplus that ends up contributing to body fat. So you want to only not eat the right types of carbs, but also the right amounts.
So, frozen vegetables versus fresh vegetables. Frozen vegetables are not as good as fresh vegetables. Shows. Not as good. Frozen's not as good. Ooh, got a little ambivalence here. So Cynthia, what's the truth? What's the real scoop? Are frozen vegetables not as good?
Most people believe that, and it's a huge myth.
Finally got you.
Yeah, well, so here's the deal. When you harvest a vegetable, it starts to lose nutrients immediately. So if it traveled 1,500 miles from where it was grown to where you bought it, it's lost considerable nutrition. Frozen vegetables are frozen typically the same day, maybe the next day after harvesting. So it locks in the nutrients. Freezing does not destroy nutrients, it actually preserves them. So when you have a fresh vegetable that's just been picked and you freeze it, you're kind of like eating a fresh vegetable when you then cook it later.
And sometimes maybe even be better then.
It may actually be higher in nutritional value. So what I like to do is take a frozen vegetable, steam it, and then maybe toss it with a little bit of something like olive oil with garlic, or maybe like a sun-dried tomato pesto or something, just to give it a little bit of pizzazz, because no one really wants to eat their vegetables plain.
That's right.
And the other thing is, if you add a little bit of a healthy fat to your vegetable, you absorb more antioxidants, because antioxidants kind of need to hitch a ride with fat to get absorbed from the digestive system into the bloodstream.
That's a great tip. So get a little bit of oil that you can have with your antioxidants. That's a great tip. I think a lot of us don't really pay attention to the amount of sugar we ingest. I think we should probably let's take a walk over there and show them some of the. Are you guys ready for this? Yeah. All right, let's do it.
So we are drinking a lot of our sugar, right?
So let them know what we have here. This is lemonade, right?
Lemonade.
Sweet tea.
Sweet tea.
This is your orange pop, my son's favorite. Yeah, orange. And then this is orange juice.
This is 100% orange juice. So when we actually look at how many sugar cubes represent the amount of sugar in a 12-ounce portion of lemonade, 21 cubes of sugar.
Wow.
In this one, and a typical American diet contains about 12 ounces of a sweetened beverage every single day.
My daughter
would
drink this every day if you let her.
Yeah, it snowballs over day after day after day. Think about how much sugar you're actually putting into your body over the course of a year. Now, the difference between these beverages, sweet tea has 15 cubes, so a little bit less than the lemonade. The orange soda, 22 cubes worth of sugar just in this 12-ounce portion. So these are all kind of empty calories, really no nutrients here that are contributing to your health, and you're having far more sugar than you should be taking in one sitting. This 100% orange juice, this is naturally occurring sugar, again put in by Mother Nature. It's bundled with lots of vitamins, minerals, fiber, antioxidants, but I don't like to think of orange juice as a beverage. You really shouldn't be thinking of this as something to drink with meals. This is a liquid serving of fruit. And the portion size here, just 4 ounces, is about the equivalent of a piece of fruit. When you drink a really large glass of juice, you probably wouldn't sit down and eat that much whole fruit at one time.
Got it.
So think of this as kind of a shot of
fruit.
fruit.
And there's a big myth that people think, I don't drink orange juice at all because it's a lot of sugar, yet they have all these beverages. So great information, thank you for that. Cynthia will be staying with us, because when we get back, we'll be talking fat. Stay with us.
The truth is that eating fat won't necessarily make you fat. In fact, eating some fat can make you slimmer, depending on the type of fats you eat.
We're back with you, and today we're talking about nutrition and what should be eating more of and what we shouldn't be eating more of. And we don't talk about fat, but today we have author and nutritionist Cynthia Sass who's going to help us. So what's your take on fat and good and bad fats and how we should be taking them? Because people just hear the word fat and they go, I just avoid fat. Is that true? Should we be taking some fat in?
People are very fat phobic, but
Yeah.
the truth is that eating fat won't necessarily make you fat. In fact, eating some fat can make you slimmer depending on the type of fats you eat. So
Exactly.
we want to avoid the bad fats, which are the man-made fats, the partially hydrogenated oil, which is the trans fat. And I really still recommend avoiding the animal-based saturated fat. Now, there are lots of healthful fats though: avocado, nuts and seeds and nut butters, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil. Those are all good fats that are heart healthy, and they actually also help to boost satiety. So you feel fuller longer when you eat these fats. They help you absorb more antioxidants, and many of them are also anti-inflammatory.
What about butter? There's a whole movement of butter coming back. I'm sure many of you have heard that. Now butter is, it's so much better than. What's your take on that?
I am still in the extra virgin olive oil camp. I really like plant-based fats. Now, as far as saturated fat, though, what we've been hearing is that not all saturated fats are bad,
That's
right?
correct.
And coconut oil happens to be a plant-based saturated fat, and I actually really like that. I stir fry with it, I whip it into smoothies. It's actually great spread on toast in place of butter in the morning on a piece of whole grain bread. So I really like, as far as saturated fat goes, I still want to stick with the plant-based ones. And you know what's another good one?
Yeah.
Cocoa. Dark chocolate bars. That's a saturated fat, but it's plant-based, it's very heart healthy.
Good.
So I recommend eating a little dark chocolate every single day.
And it's nice, because it's really tough because you get so many mixed messages about if you should eat fat or not. How much fat should an average person be eating?
You know what's surprising to most people is that up to 35% of your daily calories should be coming from fat, primarily if they're these healthy fats that we've been talking about. So every morning, if you make an omelet, put some avocado with it. If you're having a salad, toss it with some balsamic vinegar and extra virgin olive oil. In the evening, maybe sprinkle a little sunflower seeds or almonds on your vegetables. There's lots of easy ways to incorporate those good fats into your diet, and you will feel fuller longer. It delays the return of your hunger, and it really gives you that sort of satisfaction factor that you miss out on when you don't have that fat. You just sort of feel unsatisfied, you're kind of still thinking about food, maybe keep nibbling. So putting that fat in has actually been shown to help people lose weight.
Because of the fact that they're staying fuller for a longer time. Now, what about milk? There's so many people trying to avoid milk. I'm sure you guys have heard, and as well as at home, there's so many, milk-like products. What's your take? First of all, is milk all bad, or can you drink some milk?
I personally don't drink milk. I have clients though who do not want to give it up.
Yeah.
So if they don't want to give it up, I do recommend organic milk. I think that's a better choice. But you know what? There's so many alternatives now. There's flaxseed milk, there's hemp milk, there's almond milk, there's coconut milk. There's so many plant-based milks, and they're fantastic in your cereal, in your coffee, in your smoothies, and I'm a huge fan of all of those. So I think maybe experiment a little bit with these plant-based alternatives, and you're finding them in more and more places now, like coffee shops and mainstream grocery stores. You don't have to go to a special health food store to get these nowadays.
What would be the problem of drinking milk, though? Just so people here at home know, what are the negative consequences of drinking milk? You chose not to, but I'd like to ask why.
I have had some people tell me, and myself included, they have some reactions like maybe acne, skin breaking out, maybe some kind of sinus issues when they consume, milk products or dairy products. That might not be true for everyone, but for people who do have those issues, when they remove milk or dairy from their diet, they tend to resolve.
Almond milk has some sugar. It can be low in sugar. Does it have as much protein as regular milk?
No, it doesn't. So when you're using these plant-based milks, you don't want to think of them as a high protein source. Most of them only have a few grams at the most. However, you can buy all of these in an unsweetened version. So almond milk, for example, you can buy it sweetened with sugar added. Look for that in the ingredient list. Or you can buy it unsweetened, and when you look at the sugar grams, it's 0 because there's no sugar been added, and almonds don't naturally have any sugar in them. So they're mostly going to give you healthy fats. And so when you have these milk alternatives, you really don't want to think of them as a protein food. You want to think of them as a good fat source.
Got it. And you can drink it or add it to any beverage you want.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I want all of you to go out there and get this book, Sass Yourself Slim. And then thank you, Cynthia, for all the good information.
Thanks for having me here. It's been a
of
pleasure.
course, it's our pleasure. When we get back, we'll hear from someone who's currently struggling with eating healthy. Stay tuned.
like I said, I was so small, I never worried about what I put in my mouth because I could eat just about anything and I'd burn it off.
Welcome back. You know, today we've been talking about nutrition, and we just left Cynthia, and we're here now with Jim Vanderberg, who's been struggling with his weight his entire life. Please welcome him. So tell us, Jim, how long you've been overweight and your experience with this whole, diet and trying to lose weight.
Well, I've been overweight for approximately the last 20 years.
How old are you now?
I'm 48 years old.
Okay.
I, believe it or not, when I was in grade school, I didn't hit 100 pounds until I was a sophomore in high school. In fact, in the 8th grade mock elections at school, they elected me most likely to be beaten by my wife because I was so small.
This is a fun school, I can see.
So I never in a million years thought I'd ever get to this point. I've tried many diets. Weight Watchers being one of them.
Can I ask you, so what happened? Did you gradually just every year put on a few pounds, or did it happen all of a sudden? What happened?
It happened gradually over the course of about 10 years, and I've been struggling for the last 10 years been yo-yoing back and forth for the last 10 years trying to get back down to a decent weight.
So let's say in your 20s, you weighed, how much would you say?
I was 150.
And how tall are you?
5'10".
And then so late 20s, early 30s, what did you get up to?
Well, I've maxed out at 265 pounds. I'm currently at 252, and my lowest weight was 180. That was after I followed the Beaumont diet for 13 weeks and lost over 60 pounds to get down to that weight, but that came back relatively quickly.
And do you remember your diet in your early 20s when you were at like 150 compared to the 30s? I mean, did you notice you ate differently or ate the same?
No, I was much more active in my 20s than I am now. I really, like I said, I was so small, I never worried about what I put in my mouth because I could eat just about anything and I'd burn it off.
What would you do? What kind of activities did you have?
I played softball. I rode my bike all the time. I was a pretty active kid.
And what happened? Did you just slow down?
I slowed down. My job didn't allow me to get out and do the kind of activities I was used to doing. And got married, and just things kind of slowed down, and I've put on quite a bit of weight.
And there's some key points that he's making, is that you have to look at your life. So he was very active, and then as time went on, he changed his activities. So you've tried the Beaumont diet. What else have you tried?
Weight Watchers, South Beach diet. That's pretty much the 3 that I've stuck with.
And you probably noticed that, and a lot of people here, I'm sure in the audience and at home, when you try a diet, you lose weight, then when you're off the diet, it comes back on. So we have Cynthia, we have an expert here. Listening to his story, I'm sure you hear it not just from Jim, from other folks. Do you have any advice for him?
I do. First of all, Jim, you are in the same boat as a lot of retired professional athletes I've seen who their activity level went down and their eating didn't change and they ended up resulting in, weight gain. But what you really need to think about is all the things that you've tried before, whatever it was that you didn't like about them, whatever it was that you just couldn't stick with, don't go down that same road again. You have to find things that you feel comfortable with, that you can do day after day after day, that do become a lifestyle for you versus a go on, go off type of approach. So if there are certain foods that you can't live without, you don't want to give them up, reduce your frequency of eating those foods and increase your intake of other healthy foods to create a balance. I think one of the biggest problems with diets is we create these forbidden foods. We say, I'm never ever gonna have these foods ever again. And that's not realistic for anyone, including myself. I know I could never go through the rest of my life never eating a French fry, right? But I don't eat French fries very often, and when I do, I have them with salad and lean protein. So creating some sort of balance that's sustainable is the best way to lose weight, keep it off, and feel sane in the process.
And it's great advice. And the key she said is this. And people think, you know, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. It's all about moderation. You know, Jim, thank you for joining us and giving us this insight. When we come back, we'll be in the kitchen cooking a nutritious meal with Devin Alexander, the celebrity chef from Biggest Loser. Jim, you should watch too, okay?
So people think, oh, you can't eat pasta, you can't keep that kind of weight loss and still eat pasta. Not true at all. It's just all about having the right balance. I know, right?
Go ahead, keep going. So welcome back. We've been talking about nutrition, and the favorite part of nutrition is eating. And we're finally to the eating part. So I want to give a warm applause to Devin Alexander, please, who's going to help us. She's a celebrity chef from Biggest Loser. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, tell us, I know that being on The Biggest Loser is not as cool as this audience, right? But what's it like being on The Biggest Loser?
You know what? I lost 70 pounds over 20 years ago. And so it's so rewarding because I get to help other people do what I did. And so many people are stuck, you know, they want to lose weight, they're trying really hard, and they feel like they can never eat anything good, or they feel like, you know, they're trying and the labels are wrong, which you've already discussed today. So what I do is take the foods that people love and help them curb their cravings, but still eat delicious food, and then put in some smoothies and things so you can get all those vegetables without, you know, just making a vegetable lasagna, or just, you know, vegetables don't have to be in everything. As long as you're getting them through the course of the day, then you can still have like a chorizo lasagna or something.
Exactly. So what do you have here? What delicious stuff do you have for us? I'm excited.
So we're gonna start with what I call the margarinsrita.
Margarinsrita.
So think margarita, but with no alcohol. And this is my morning drink. This is so great because a lot of people, they'll eat a yogurt in the morning and then they start craving sugar during the day. I'm one of those people, I love chocolate. When you get all the greens in the morning, then it's already, your body is going to feel nourished, and so you're not gonna have those same cravings. So this is a great thing because you can get all these vegetables in, and I'm gonna start, we're gonna put it in our Nutri-Ninja.
Okay.
We're gonna start with a cup of spinach.
Can we do it?
Yes, please.
Hopefully I don't screw this up too much here for you guys.
Oh, you won't.
My wife always watches me as I drop everything.
Okay, and then celery.
All right, now let's see. How do we
just
gonna pick it up?
Yeah, this is
Pick
the
it up,
quick morning thing. We got to get this done quickly.
Yeah,
because we got to get out that door. We might have to do a little.
She's making me work.
Let's get as much as we can. We might do a little blending. We'll throw in the lime juice next, and we'll blend a little so we can get more stuff in.
Is that good?
Yes, and I'm gonna do a tiny bit of blending first. Okay, stick this on here. Get that going a little bit, and then we'll put some more stuff in it. Let's put our ice cubes.
Perfect.
And if we can get the parsley in, and then we'll put a little bit of jalapeno. And
Ooh, I like that.
Jalapeno is great because it speeds up your metabolism. Let's blend the rest of this. And then voila.
What do you guys think? Yeah.
Now, part of the reason that I love the Ninja so much is that it makes these super smooth. And a lot of people are juicing these days. The problem with using a juicer is that you don't get all the fiber. So with
You're
this,
absolutely right, because they take the pulp out, right?
right, you don't get as many nutrients. So you're gonna go give that to somebody.
Let's see, you guys thirsty? I know you haven't been here for very long. Any thirsty individuals? This young lady right here. This gentleman right here. Tell me how that tastes like. Good? Oh! I made that.
And then the really cool thing is that you can literally put a cap on and walk out the door.
Let me try a little bit.
Give you a quick test of that.
It's very good.
And again, this isn't one of those foods that's like you're totally craving, but if you get that in the morning, I'm telling you, it's gonna make all the difference in the world.
But it wakes you up too. I mean, it's a little, you guys, right? A little zingy.
It's really fresh, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
What else do we have
Next,
here?
really quick salad. We have mixed greens. I often use arugula. Let's throw in the basil. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Fresh basil. That'll add such a nice punch.
What else should I do?
A little bit of feta.
I like this kind of cooking. This is great.
And then this is a store-bought balsamic, a light balsamic. Now, if you don't want to buy the fat-free ones because, as Cynthia told us, way too much sugar in those. Here, I buy the light one, and then I often even put a little bit of extra balsamic vinegar in it because that way it is low fat and you get a nice strong punch of that.
Perfect.
Okay, now we're just gonna
You good?
put that here. Yep, just a quick toss. I'm telling you, these are great because they're fast.
Aren't I trainable and good at this?
You are amazing.
This is a fast crowd here.
And then we just put our, little watermelon cubes around the sides.
Perfect.
Very quickly.
With some shrimp?
Yes, and then add the shrimp to the top. And you have this nice big meal in minutes. Now you can grill the shrimp if you want, put a little seasoning on them and grill them. You only need a teaspoon of oil per pound if you're doing it that way, or just do them steamed and voila. Yeah, so again, really easy. This is one of those things when you're, I always tell people to keep shrimp in their freezer because on a weeknight, you can defrost that in 5 minutes. If you come home and you're like, oh my God, I don't have time to do whatever I was gonna do, literally soak it in cold water and it will be defrosted in 5 minutes and then.
That's a great trick, because you're right, nobody has time.
Right, and as I said, so many times you get caught off guard, so instead of having processed food around, perfect.
So what do we have here?
Now we're making a creamy broccoli pesto.
Perfect.
I love pesto, but you know how they put buckets of oil in that?
Yeah.
So this is a way to get broccoli in. So we're gonna start by putting
put the
broccoli,
broccoli in.
in our Ninja Ultima.
Perfect.
And then some fresh basil, lots of fresh basil. Some garlic, because I'm Italian, and God forbid I'd make something without garlic. I'm surprised I didn't have garlic in
Do
my
we like
smoothie.
garlic here? I love garlic.
Just a little bit of olive oil. That's probably a tenth of what they'd actually put in pesto. And that's some fat-free Greek yogurt.
Perfect. Perfect. So we will put this all in. We come back, we'll blend all this. Stay with us. Ninja has been very kind to us. They wanted to give away a couple of these Ultima blenders. The studio audience. We're back with you and we put all these ingredients together. Are you guys ready for me to blend? Yeah.
And if you flip it up, you don't have to hold it. Although, look how quick that was. It's actually good.
It's good?
Yeah, it's good to go. So as you can see, it looks like this. And then you literally just toss your pasta in it. And then I make grilled chicken. Now, a lot of people think that you have to put so much oil on chicken to get it to taste like restaurants. So not true. Again, just like the shrimp, 1 teaspoon per pound is all the oil you need to lock in the juices.
1 teaspoon per pound. Okay.
1 teaspoon per pound.
That's great.
And use good olive oil. Okay, and then I just seasoned that with a garlic herb seasoning, and then I tossed this all together, and you have your beautiful dish.
When can I eat?
Right now.
Right now, okay, perfect.
And you'll notice, so people think, oh, you can't eat pasta, you can't keep that kind of weight loss and still eat pasta. Not true at all. It's just all about having the right balance. So here you have a 4-ounce chicken breast with 3/4 of a cup of pasta.
Mhm.
You don't need, you know,
Mhm.
I know, right? Who's eating 3/4 of a cup of pasta?
Go ahead, keep going.
Huh.
Oh, we're done.
Are we not sharing with audience
Oh, I'm
members
sorry.
today?
We will.
Nobody else gets to try it.
So sorry. That was great. Well, you know, while I'm chewing, tell us all about the new activities you're doing. You're starting a dessert line.
I'm starting a dessert line called Devonly Delights, and then I also have a restaurant coming to Royal Caribbean Cruise Line this fall called Devonly Decadence.
Wow.
And it's all your
Devonly
favorite
Decadence.
foods. It's all your favorite foods under 500 calories, everything from chili cheese fries to chocolate chip pancakes.
Chocolate chip pancakes?
Uh-huh.
When can we make that?
Hey, I'll come back next week.
My gosh. Then you're also a spokesperson for the Ninja Ultima,
I am,
right?
Yes.
Well, tell me about Ninja and your involvement with them, and you believe in their products.
You know what? I love their products, and that's actually how I became their spokesperson. I pretty much stalked them. I was looking for something that could make this recipe that I have called True Love in a Bowl, which is like a chocolate ice cream, and it's basically frozen bananas with cocoa powder.
Ninja has been very kind to us. What they did, guess what they did? They wanted to give away a couple of these Ultima blenders. The studio audience.
Yes.
So, I want you to check underneath your seat. If you have a piece of fruit underneath your seat, you have won a Ninja. Oh! Who else has a piece of fruit? Anybody?
No one has a piece of fruit.
Hey, stand up! Congratulations. And also we want to thank the company Ninja because they're giving away 3 Ninja Ultimas on our website, AskDrNandi.com. How about that? Well, thank you, Devin.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it's delicious. And if they need any other tips on cooking, in other words, just go to your Facebook site, right?
Yeah, definitely follow me on Facebook for many more tips and recipes and inspiration.
Do you have a website as well?
I do, devinalexander.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be juicing with certified juicer Jamie Craftsman. Stay with us.
The beautiful thing about a juicer like this is that it doesn't actually take all the fiber away.
Back with you, and we're talking about nutrition. And when we left you, we made a delicious meal, and we can see that you can literally reverse the damage we create by eating badly by taking in some of the right nutrients. Joining me now is certified medicinal juice educator Jamie Craftsman. Please welcome her. She's going to show us how fun and easy juicing can be, right?
Absolutely.
So perfect. So, Jamie, what are the ingredients you have here? You're going to make a wonderful juice for us.
Yes, we're going to do something called an organ cleanse.
Organ cleanse.
Yes,
I need
organ
that.
Cleanse. Don't we all? Don't we all? We have some beautiful Michigan organic beets here. We have some organic carrots. Everything here is organic, by the way. So
That's nice.
I'll just lead with that. We have some celery. We actually have the beet greens, which are on top of the beets.
Okay.
Important to include that. They're full of tons of nutrients. We have some spinach and some green apple.
Perfect.
So I know.
Why do you pick organic, by the way? I know we're not
Yes.
talking about that specifically with juicing, but why organic?
Sure. So, organic is super important, especially when we're talking about juicing and it's going directly into the bloodstream and right into your cells. It's good we're talking about this too. Juicing, some of the benefits are it's highly absorbable. It gets right into your bloodstream, much akin to drinking alcohol. It goes right into your bloodstream. So when you're juicing, the juicer is doing a lot of the work for you prior to actually ingesting the juice.
So your body, what you're talking, you're chewing and your body's, your stomach is grinding, and then you get it absorbed. This machine with juicing does that for you. So go ahead.
Exactly. So it's extracting the fiber from the actual liquid, and so it's going right into your bloodstream, getting right into the cells, giving you that juice high that you get right after you drink
I see these empty cups that.
Yeah. So let's do it. All right.
See me drinking it?
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. All right. So we're going to turn the machine on. You want to do it with me?
Soothing sound. You want me to do it? Yes.
So let's.
They all put me to work.
Start.
So how many should I put in?
We're going to do it all.
The whole thing.
The whole enchilada. That's the beauty of these machines. The machine does all the work.
So we're doing this, and
Yep.
look at the juice coming out. You see that?
Yeah, you'll see the pulp is coming out here. The juice comes out on the other end. The pulp is super dry.
They didn't
too.
think I could do this, did you? Silence, deafening.
Silence is
I'll put this
golden.
on.
So now
this
we'll
is some
add in the
apples, and
apple.
so a lot of nutrients in here
the
as well.
benefits of all these things, like beets actually are a huge energy boost. So people actually will do a little bit of beet juice before they go on a run or something like that. Apples, have tons of benefits. People, apple a day.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how many do you put all the greens in?
Yep, we're going to put all the greens in. The beautiful thing about a juicer like this is that it doesn't actually take all the fiber away. It depends on your preference, but I'll actually rerun a juice through the juicer to kind of get it less pulpy, because this particular juicer, it's known as a masticating juicer. It doesn't actually give you a pulp-free juice, so you'll actually get some of the pulp in there. which in fact will give you a good amount of fiber in your juices.
We love celery too. What about celery? Why did you put that in there?
So celery has a very good amount of vitamin C.
Okay.
It also helps the body to use calcium more efficiently.
That's pretty easy to do. Now, can I go ahead and pour it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Is it easy to clean?
You can actually run a cycle of water through so that until it's running clear, until the water's running clear.
I'll remove that for you.
Oh, you're good. Until the water runs clear, you can, so you just start running some water through.
I want to drink this.
Yeah, and then you'll start to notice that the water will start to run clear. What do you think? Pretty good?
I like what you're doing right now. So what kind of juicer is this? One of the problems is some of the juicers get rid of all the fiber. What kind of juicer is this, and what are the different types of juicers?
It's a great
this
question.
Is good.
Yeah, good. I'm so happy.
Thirsty? We're coming out soon to get some more juice for you, but go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Stay tight there. All right, so this particular type of juicer, and I'm glad we're talking about this because I think that there's probably a bit of confusion. So much, advertising and media. The masticating juicer is a little bit different than a centrifugal juicer, and really it all depends on the type of, time that you have to devote to it and what kind of an investment you want to make in juicing. And oftentimes when people first start to get into juicing, they'll, go with a centrifugal juicer for a couple different reasons. One, it's a lot quicker. It does operate at a higher RPM, so it does cut into the cell walls a little bit. It degrades a little bit of the produce that you are putting into the machine, and also it puts a little bit of heat into the juice, so it kind of kills a little bit of the live enzymes. So even though I would recommend that if somebody is gonna, I would recommend they do juice, if they're gonna use a juicer, juice for sure versus not juicing, but
you like the masticating type.
I do like the masticating juicer
this
better.
Is delicious.
Yeah.
Do you guys want a little bit of what I have? Yeah. Can we get some out here? Let's go.
Do it.
Let's go. Take out the juices. Here you are, madame. Green or red? Well, thank you. How does it taste?
Very good.
She said num num. So my son. Well, thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it. That was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Please give her a nice round of applause. We had a lot of information today about nutrition. We come back, Partha's prescriptions. Please stay with us. Back with them today. We've talked about nutrition. What can we take away from today's Partha's prescriptions? It's important that you analyze the ingredient list of your favorite foods and beverages. Advocate for yourself and know what you're putting in your body. Also, artificial sweeteners can be harmful to your bodies. Use natural sugar in moderation. This is better for your overall health. Also, enjoying an organic piece of fruit is a great way to beat your sweet tooth cravings. Juicing can be an excellent addition to a balanced diet. Do your research and find the recipes that'll help you reach your nutritional goals. To stay informed about today's topic, learn about healthy living and how to become your own health hero, please visit us at AskDrNandi.com. Also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. Join our discussion. Lastly, there's a beautiful word in the Hindi language that literally means the light in me honors the light in you, and that word is namaste. So namaste to each and every one of you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
As a practicing physician, I wanted to create a place that folks could go to that not only delivers great health information in a way that's understandable and useful, but also share inspirational stories to help us all grow.
People think that once you're adults, you're done learning. You're not. In order to be successful, you have to have an open mind to learn.
Real problems discussed in depth with real solutions. This is the Dr. Nandi Show.
As a practicing physician, dieting is a question I'm asked about most in my practice. Many of my patients are suffering physically and mentally and want help. However, there are more types of diets and new fads every single day. So what do we do for long-term sustainable change? The key is to create a realistic plan that makes healthy eating a way of life. The great news is that food is medicine and our planet is rich and diverse in natural foods and nutrients. That's amazing. We can eat exciting, flavorful, healthy foods that will never bore us. And we'll talk to people looking for help and those who have found a way to permanently make some healthy changes. There are a lot of takeaways from today's guests that will help you become healthier and happier. Find out more coming up on the Dr. Nandi Show.
Eating addictions are unlike drugs or alcohol because they can really start in early childhood when you're exposed to the food, and it's more difficult to beat them because you have to eat every single day.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. And there's so many diets around. The question becomes, how come we can't stick to one? This leads to yo-yo dieting and eating disorders. Our next guests have both struggled with their weight, just like many of you. First, we have Charles Long, who, like so many, is battling the yo-yo dieting. Charles, thank you for being on with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and so tell me a little bit about yourself. What's going on with you?
Well, I'm 21 years old and currently weigh close to 400 pounds now. I've struggled with eating and overeating since I was a kid, really, and it's really about being addicted to food. And I think that eating addictions are unlike drugs or alcohol because they can really start in early childhood when you're exposed to the food, and it's more difficult to beat them because you have to eat every single day.
In order to keep up with the addiction, right?
Right, exactly.
What are some of the challenges you've had with dieting, though? I mean, because you've been on a bunch of diets, why don't they work for you?
At times I've been on diets that have been way too restrictive, and at one point in middle school I was even anorexic for a little while. So there's been points I've been way over what I should weigh, and there's points I've actually weighed too little.
Yeah.
And it just does not work to be too restrictive.
And Pete, this is all too familiar to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pete Thomas, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us about your story, and it sounds very familiar to his, doesn't it?
You're absolutely right. You know, at my youngest, I struggled with my weight because my mother struggled with mental illness, and we were on the go. We were transient from one city to another. So my struggles with food started because of a lack of food, because of homelessness, really that trauma that happens at an early age. And one of the things that I try to share is your emotional health is essential to your physical health. And so we have to go back and look at what happened when we were at our youngest, when these problems start, especially when we get to our size, this super obese category.
And you went on Biggest Loser, and
that's right.
Maybe tell us how successful you were in that endeavor.
Absolutely. On the Biggest Loser, I lost 83 pounds in 62 days. So that was a great jump start. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, man, that's big time.
And then lost 102 pounds at home for 185 pounds total, and was able to keep the weight off. And like I say, I set a goal to keep the weight off when the cameras were off, and that meant I had to deal with three areas. I had to deal with my mind, I had to deal with my mouth, and then I had to deal with muscle. So I had to deal with all of those different things to make the transformation permanent.
And your body and your mind, you know, Charles and Pete, and you guys know this, are hardwired, right? You're talking about something really important. If you have the experience as a child of something, of deprivation, your body will compensate, and the moment you get the idea where you're going to run out of food, your mind will overcompensate and eat more. That's right. Very important to understand that, because you know, people who are trained to what? Finish your plate will always finish your plates. And parents out there who are listening, it's so important that the precedent you set for them. What I mean is that if you tell them to finish your plate, then guess what? Every time a child listens to that as they grow up to be an adult, they finish their plate. If you're going to say that, that's okay. Just make sure there's a reasonable amount on the plate, not pile them up with a bunch of stuff, especially unhealthy stuff, and then ask them to clean their plate. So it's really important. And the behaviors that we can address as kids really stay for us for a lifetime, right? And you were talking about this as a child, as a young man now, but as a child you're having the same problems, weren't you?
Exactly, yeah, definitely. It's it's really about finding a balance with food between what is healthy and what tastes good. And you really need to find things that are healthy that do taste good. Because when I was restricting on my diet, I was all about losing weight, eating low-calorie foods, and I wasn't, finding recipes and things that actually, taste good.
Yeah, deprivation don't work, right? That's the thing. Deprivation just does not work. Pete, you have a book out there. There's a winner within you. And tell us about that and what some tips for lasting change, not just to get that Instagram picture.
That's right.
But really lasting change.
Absolutely.
Tell me about
I like
that.
to say tips are for kids. What we need to do is we actually have to make changes, Charles. And if you want to make changes in your life, you have to change your life. There are different things that we have to actually do on a daily basis because of where we've come from, because we're so large and we've struggled with our weight for so long. And so for me, it starts when I get up in the morning. There are certain things that I have a proclamation that I say to myself. One of the things I say is I feel sexy, strong, and great.
Sexy, strong, and great, baby.
Maintain my weight at 238. You know what I mean? So I start off my day saying certain things, and then there are just certain laws that I live by. I learn to master my mind, manage my mouth, and multiply my muscles. And it can be done. I want to encourage you. It can be done. I'm here to help you with it in whatever way I can, but we can do it together.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
All right, absolutely. Great.
Hey, great of you, Peter.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So he said a lot of things in there, but one of the things that Pete's taught me before, people who are used to eating a large amount, you can't, and you said this really well, Charles, is that you can't then ask somebody who's eating a lot of quantity, then you just go to a tiny quantity and say you're weak. It's not really that, is it? It's expectations and what your body's used to. You've trained your body for all this time. So what he's very good at is showing you can have the same quantity, just replace it with healthier stuff. Thanks, gentlemen, for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. Yeah. It's amazing to have you up. Next up, we'll talk to one of the industry's most knowledgeable professionals, Florine Marks from Weight Watchers. Please stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
What it takes is deciding that you want to do something for you. What it takes is deciding that you want to start liking yourself.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. This is going to be great. I'm so excited to introduce to you Florine Marks. Now, Florine is the leading U.S. franchise holder of Weight Watchers International. She's used her knowledge, influence, energy, and resources to help folks help themselves. In the Midwest, she's the face of Weight Watchers. And so thank you so much. It's so kind of you to join us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you. So tell me, Weight Watchers has been on for such a long time. Why do you think that is?
Well, because we don't have diet pills. It's a healthy diet. I mean, the diet today is unbelievable compared to when I went, and I lost my 50 pounds. Because now you can eat actually whatever you want. We have a new program out called Freestyle, where we have 200 foods that are 0 points, like fish and beans and yogurt. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. So you can really fit the program into your lifestyle. I hate the word diet. It's not a diet.
I hate the word diet too. I don't believe in it.
And it's not important how long it takes you. It's important that you learn to love yourself and be healthy. And not everybody is going to be a size 2 or a 4 or a 6 or 8. You have to be the best that you are.
That's awesome. And Florine, tell me about your personal journey. You said you lost 50 pounds twice before the show.
I've been fat all my life. My mother used to tell the story. She bought my diapers in Lane Bryant's.
Oh,
that was pretty fat.
Ouch.
And I started going to diet doctors with, the diet pills, the amphetamines and all the rest of them. And I went 9 times and I lost 50 pounds each time. Kids
9 times?
9 times. The kids bullied me in school. They called me Fat Flo, FF. So, I mean, it was just hard growing up. I finally got married, had a baby, then went on and had 4 more. My husband we got divorced. I got married at 16, had a baby at 17, divorced at 18, remarried. He brought me 2 more children. And I went on and had 4 more children. That's how I got 7 children. And he lost part of his business, and he said, honey, you have to go out and work. Who's going to hire me a size 20? I mean, because I didn't like myself. Nothing changed about me. I was still pretty good smart up there. I was still kind. I was a good mother. I was a good sister. I was a good daughter. All those wonderful things I didn't think about. All I thought about was I'm a failure. I can't lose weight. No one's going to want to hire me. So I heard about Weight Watchers. It was about 4 years in New York. I went to New York, 4 months. I lost 40 pounds. I went back once a month, and I lost 40. It was a terrible diet. Oh, we could eat nothing. And they asked me to bring it back to Michigan. So I started here in Michigan, and it took me 1 year to lose the last 10. But I did it. So it's not important how long, but I learned to really respect myself. We don't sell a diet. We sell self-respect. And that's really the most important thing. And getting healthy, that really is the most important thing.
That's awesome. And you had a goal, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
When you went, I think a lot of people fixate on just how they want to look in a certain bathing suit or in clothes. And we know people often do that. You need a goal, don't you? And what was your goal when you went there? I know you got self-respect when you went to the program, but when you went there, what was your goal?
My goal was to lose enough weight that somebody would hire me. I wanted to be on television. I wanted to be on radio. I'm a writer. I'm an entrepreneur. That's what I wanted to do, okay? And I wanted to be able to put my 5 children at that time who were ready to college. So I needed a job, and I wanted to put my kids through college.
And you have to hear what you're saying.
And I did.
I'm saying you did way that and more. And here's the thing, here's someone who, if you met her then, you'd never ever guess that she was the same person today. But it can happen, and I think that if you have self-respect and the goals, it could really happen. Let me ask you a question. If someone who's watching our show today, how could they make some long-term changes, the kind of changes you made? What does it take now that you know what you know today?
Well, what it takes is deciding that you want to do something for you. What it takes is deciding that you want to start liking yourself. I mean, I hear all the time people say, I don't have time to go to a Weight Watchers meeting. Half hour once a week. You don't have a half hour once a week for yourself. And what we get in the Weight Watchers meetings are all these people that are in there doing it together. You're not alone. I thought I was the only person in the whole world that could eat a half gallon of ice cream a day. Now, I only ate vanilla because everybody knows chocolate's fattening, right? So I would eat the ice cream. And I got into a meeting, and every person that works with us, every coach, every leader, every receptionist has had a weight problem, sat in our classes, lost the weight, gone through training, so that when you come, we know. I used to walk by I hear people say I walk by the bakery, and I say, I know what happens. The donuts say, Florine, come get me. And how do you handle that, okay? And you know how you do that, Dr. Nandi? One day at a time. I never ask myself to do anything but for one day at a time. I've written a book called Talk to the Mirror, because I get up every single morning, and I look in the mirror. I don't care if it's snowing, raining, whatever the day is, or how I feel. I could feel, out of sorts. I don't want to say depressed, out of sorts. And I look in the mirror and I say, good morning, Florine. Today's going to be a good one, and you can do anything you want if you want to do it bad enough for one day. And I never ask myself to do anything for more than one day. And tomorrow I'll wake up. I might eat all the ice cream in the world, but I'm going to make another commitment and have a good day.
So 3 things I'll tell you. Florine said, number 1, it's not about a diet. It's really about feeling good about yourself.
Right.
Number 2 is, have a goal, have something that you're trying to get to. Number 3, she also said, have a tribe. We call in Nandi Nation is that when we talk about having people around you, have a tribe that can support you through every goal, every journey. That includes your fitness or your weight loss goals. So it's been such a pleasure having you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for giving the advice. This is an amazing woman. For more information on Weight Watchers, go to weightwatchers.com. And to learn more about Florine, go to askflorine.com. We'll be right back with 2 more people who have turned their lives around and are now helping others. Please stay with us.
I need someone to remind myself every single day, what is the goal? And that being reminded of it keeps you focused on it.
Accountability and having a tribe. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. And our next guests are success stories, and I love those. We're going to talk to them and see what they did and what you can do to be successful in the long term. Our first guest is the amazing Michael Daggett, has been a member of the Air National Guard for 24 years. Thank you for that service.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
You bet.
However, his job was in jeopardy due to his weight. And welcome, Michael, please, everybody. And our second guest is certified master trainer, two-time world record endurance cyclist and nutritionist Danielle Giordano. Wow, I did not know that. Amazing. Such a pleasure to have you. So before we begin, tell me about what has been both your challenges and your success stories. I'll start with you, Michael. What has been your challenge?
So my challenge, I've been active duty Air Force for 25 years, and so much of my career I was overweight. And I would lose just enough weight to pass the fitness test, and I never really understood that I had to be healthy. I would just do what it took to lose the weight, and it caught up to me. My job was in jeopardy, and the Air Force decided they were going to kick me out. And rather than take that, I took my life back, and I changed my life completely.
And Danielle, what about you? What was your challenge?
You know, really for me, it was about behavior change, and it was about trying to break the cycle of bad habits, which I think is very common for a lot of people, where you get into a cycle and you just simply don't know how to get out of it.
At what point in your life was that? Because you're an amazing person, you're a world record holder, but is that obviously before that happened?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, this was, my first world record was back in 2010. I started my weight loss journey in 2009.
Wow.
And, you know, it really was that. It was a journey. I think in our society, there's a lot of quick fixes.
Absolutely, fast food for everything, right?
Absolutely.
And drive-through, I should say, yeah.
Absolutely, and there's that instant gratification. And when you really get the mindset around, it's not instant gratification, this is a lifestyle. This is truly what I want to do, not because, oh, I have to go to the gym, or oh, I have to eat something leafy green.
To look like this.
No, I like to do this.
Or somebody else told me.
Exactly.
Yeah. What if you got here? It sounds pretty interesting. Is that a PVC pipe?
It is a PVC pipe.
Are we going plumbing?
But no, we're not. We're going to talk about neurotransmitters inside of the brain, specifically behavioral change and emotional eating. So I want you to think of each one of these little PVC pipes as an individual thought. I'm way too overweight, it's gonna take too long, my body image might be bad, I might have self-esteem. Once you get enough of these thoughts together in the brain, they start to go back and forth very, very quickly, and they create pathways. Those pathways, I want you to picture as kind of like this little skinny exit here that eventually goes into a larger, that eventually forms an entire pipe. The reason why behavior change takes a little bit of time to correct and to reverse is because you have to work backwards, and you have to break down those patterns and replace them with healthy patterns. Exactly.
And Michael, how did you fulfill your challenge? What did you do to overcome your obstacles?
I got really lucky early on, and one of my closest friends, I called him my wingman. And he woke up every single morning, and I told him, I sent an email to him, and I said, Jeff, I'm in a world of hurt. I'm at a point where the Air Force is going to kick me out. I need some help. And he said, I got this. And that was the end of the conversation. And the next morning, I woke up to an email from him. He said, good morning, Mike. Day 68, we've got this. And that was it.
Nice.
The next day, 67, 65, 64. So what that taught me is every single morning, he took it upon himself to remind me of what my goal was. And I learned after all that transpired, I'm like, I need someone to remind myself every single day, what is the goal? And that being reminded of it keeps you focused on it.
Accountability and having a tribe. We talk about it all the time on the shows, that having a tribe, if you do it yourself, you can, but human beings are, hardwired to live in tribes and thrive in tribes. When you do that, you have accountability. What did you do to overcome your obstacles?
You know, it was a lot of perseverance of why are you doing this? I'm a big proponent of external goals, because you're going to have those weeks. You're going to have those bad weeks where you're not going to lose the pounds, you're not going to, go down a pant size. And having an external goal that's you against something inanimate, right? Or a 5K, or
whatever it is,
going up a certain amount of stairs. Exactly. It allows you to have that goal setting that isn't focused around the scale or around, a particular piece of clothing, which helps motivate, because you can feel like you're still moving forward and you're still having those metrics of success.
And I think having purposeful movement, purposeful eating habits are so important, right? So you have a goal and then you start somewhere and then you try to reach it and overcome it. But the key is it can't be because someone told you or the way you look, because it's got to be deeper. It's got to come from inside. And then we talk about all the time in the show, your best relationship and your first relationship has to be about yourself. Until it happens, nothing changes. Would you agree with that?
Totally agree. Yep. And you have to do this for you. And there's nothing else on the planet that feels good as when you take control of your own life. And when you do that because you truly want to, it's lasting.
Absolutely. And lasting, tell me about lasting versus the short-term stuff, Danielle.
Well, I mean, again, I think that goes back to behavioral change. You know, just talking about nutrition, it goes down to it's not the amount of calories I'm eating necessarily, it's nutritional density I'm getting for that calorie that I'm exchanging. And I think a lot of people get lost in that, where they'll eat something that isn't very nutritionally dense because it's 140 calories versus eating something that is nutritionally dense that might be 200 calories, and they get lost in the calories and not the actual nutritional exchange that they're getting. And that goes a long way for that long-term
and there's so much misinformation about that. We only have a minute. I'd like to ask you a question that they told me from social media. Ella from New York said, I start out all gung-ho, but always seem to get off track. What's the best way to get back on? 30 seconds. Danielle?
External goals. It has to be about more than just the scale or a pant size. It has to be about what your true motivation is, honest and true motivation.
Michael?
Set an attendance goal, not performance goals. If you set an attendance goal, do something every single day, do as little as possible so that you can build the habit of doing it. Then the performance goals will follow.
95% of life is?
95% is showing up.
Showing up, baby. You got to show up every day. And his buddy was telling him, day 68, have external goals, have a purpose of why you're doing it. I think it's Ella, right? Ella, you got to have a reason why you're doing it. If you don't have a reason, it's never going to work. I appreciate both of you coming on, sharing your expertise. Sorry about that. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. To learn more about Michael, go to michaeldaggett.com. He also has a podcast at fatdag.com. And Danielle also has a great website that can be found at daniellegiordano.com. Up next, we'll talk to a doctor about just what types of food we should eat and what we should stay away from. Coming up next.
We want healthy fats. We want fats like avocado oil, macadamia nut oil, olive oil is another one, and MCT oil, which a lot of people may not know about.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. Our next guest is Dr. Lori Shemek, the author of How to Fight Fatflammation and the best-selling author of Fire Up Your Fat Burn. So she's been recognized by the Huffington Post as one of the top health and fitness experts, and you may have seen her on Dr. Oz as well. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course. I love this. So tell me about fatflammation.
Well, our fat cells, we have about 100 billion of them circulating throughout our body, if you will. And when the types of foods that we eat tend to create more fat storage. Okay?
Sure.
And so when we have more fat storage, the fat cell becomes or acts as if it's infected. It's an immune response.
Almost like it's inflamed, right?
Right, exactly. And it begins to, emit a low level of inflammation, and this has a metabolic effect that slows down the metabolism. And so when that happens, we're gaining weight. We don't know why. The types of foods people are eating are primarily to blame. And so one of my missions is to absolutely help people choose the right foods. And obviously in my book I talk about that. But the right foods are always anti-inflammatory foods.
It's amazing what she's talking about. If you pay real close attention, it's interesting. It's kind of it's a vicious cycle. So first you eat the foods that lead to fat storage, and then the fat then gets inflamed, the fatflammation. And the fatflammation does one other thing, including building up fat. What you're doing is you're also burning less calories because it's reducing your metabolism. So a lot of you say, what's going on? Why am I not able to lose the weight. And that's what's happening.
Right.
And it's the key is what you put in your mouth, isn't it?
It absolutely is. So the types of foods most people are eating are refined processed foods, or they go on a very low-fat, low-calorie diet or a high-carb diet. And what this is doing is setting you up for disaster, really, because if you're on a low-calorie diet, which a lot of people do, you are not taking in enough nutrients and not enough nutrition, and so your metabolism slows down. And that means low nutrition, low energy is a disaster for weight gain, really.
Because your body thinks, you know, just to simplify it, is that when you're taking less in, I better conserve it because I'm not going to get any.
Exactly.
Remember, we have not always had plentiful food. It's just a problem that we have now. So human beings, relatively primitive creatures, because we have, goes back to ancestry, right? When we're food deprived, and so our body goes back and says, if we're not putting enough in, we must have enough. So it starts storing more to get ready for the hard times. And then what happens?
Well, we can thank insulin, the fat storage hormone, for that, because insulin it likes to store fat and it likes to keep it there. So the types of foods that people eat are triggering insulin pretty much all the time because people are eating pretty much all the time. And the types of foods, the refined processed foods
And so we're talking about sugars, simple sugars like candy bars and all this kind of stuff.
Processed junk foods, cookies, cakes, pretzels, those kinds of things. All the things we all know aren't healthy for us, right? But then there's another side to this too. There are foods out there that people don't know they're eating. So sugar is notorious for promoting weight gain and triggering insulin. And the food manufacturers are putting insulin, putting
these
adding
sugars,
sugar
right?
to almost every packaged processed product out there. And so people don't know that they're creating this weight gain havoc, really, because of the foods that they're eating. This sugar is in foods like ketchup. It's in chicken broth, if you can believe it. It's in foods like whole wheat bread. People believe they're buying something very healthy when in fact 2 slices of whole wheat bread can raise your blood sugar as much as 2 tablespoons of sugar. Yogurt's another, quote, healthy food item that can have as much sugar as a candy bar.
And that's when you have added sugar. So it's really important, look at the label, right? You flip it around, and then even though it says low fat, no fat in the top, when you turn it around, the first ingredient that'll be on there will be high fructose corn syrup or some sort of added sugars. It's key to understand what you're saying is that when you look at the label, that you have to see the added sugars that are there. Yogurt may be good for you, but if they put a bunch of sugar in it to make you eat it, then it ain't good for you no more. So that's the thing. What about burning fat? What about foods? Because people would love to know, what foods can we eat to burn fat?
Okay, so foods that burn fat are leafy greens, veggies of all kinds, primarily because they're high in antioxidants and polyphenols. And these polyphenols actually help increase the health of your mitochondria, which are the little cells in the little engines in your cells, if you will, that really create a healthier you and increase the number of them. So inflammation, low-level inflammation, and poor mitochondrial health go hand in hand, okay?
Vicious cycle.
And poor mitochondrial health and weight gain go hand in hand. So you want as many veggies as you can. I always advocate half a plate of them if you can do that. And also we want healthy fats. We want fats like avocado oil, macadamia nut oil, olive oil is another one, and MCT oil, which a lot of people may not know about. And MCT oil is short for medium chain triglycerides that actually help increase the mitochondria in your cells and increase the health of them. So that's the key to optimal health, is to do that on a cellular level.
And as we talk about, get your veggies every day, and it's not just because it's just got vitamins and minerals, it can actually burn fat. So great advice, Dr. Schmeck. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And up next, a woman who was an exercise guru and realized that wasn't the end-all, be-all. That's up next. Please stay with us.
I was fit, I was strong, I could diet, and still I was struggling. I was depressed and I couldn't sustain it.
Well, you're watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and with us now is Patricia Moreno. Patricia has been training, mentoring, and educating people for more than 30 years. In an effort to end her own weight struggle, she's created the Intensati method, a workout which combines her expertise in fitness, dance, martial arts, yoga, nutrition, meditation, and spiritual practices. Wow. So, welcome her, please. Thank you. That's amazing.
Thank you. So glad to be
Oh,
here.
yeah, you're amazing. Tell us about your personal journey. I mean, you've had quite an amazing journey from one place to another, and you've gone someplace and come back. Tell us all about it.
Well, I grew up in Northern California. I'm one of 11 kids, number 9 of 11 kids.
Wow.
And my mom really struggled with her weight, as you can imagine, right? Somebody who is pregnant, all that, and she really cared about how she looked and her weight, and she struggled a lot. So she would go from extreme methods of dieting, like fasting for a month, and then she would go to binging. And she couldn't find that middle road. And when I was about in 3rd grade, I remember there was a day that my parents put me on the scale. And they put me on the scale because I was a chubby kid, and I just remember when they looked at the number, there was a gasp. There was like, and it was 130 pounds. I was a 3rd grader, and I just read in that moment, something's not good here.
You read it because from your parents, looked the nonverbals.
The nonverbals, and I was like, whoa, there's something wrong with me. And then my dad would be watching TV and having me do squats while he was, you know, counting the squats. And my mom took me to diet doctors. And back then they would do this thing where they would inject cow's urine. Did you ever hear of this? They would inject cow's urine because it was supposedly meant to increase your metabolism. And I was on diets after diets after diets. By the time I was 12, I was 212 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So, and my relationship to myself, it just was like, I was ashamed to eat. I was embarrassed because I had no structure, no rules. I only knew that being this weight was bad. And then there was a point when I was 12 years old, I had this infection in my arm, and I was taken to the hospital. And it was life-threatening, and the infection wasn't stopping. And one night, they were going to do an exploratory surgery, and they told my parents, because it's so close to my heart, they might have to amputate the arm, but they wouldn't know until the next day.
Was this when they were injecting urine, you think, the same time?
This was around that same time, that same time. It turned out to be a bone marrow infection. But what happened was the night before the surgery, my father came in, and he was very much into the power of the mind and visualization. And he sat me down, and everybody left. And he had me go into a deep meditative state, which I didn't know, and he says, close your eyes. And I want you to imagine there's this little army of men marching into your arm.
Oh my
now
gosh.
see what they're wearing. They're all wearing little uniforms. Now they're picking out all of the infection and putting it in these pails. Now they're marching the infection out of your body. Now they're closing it up and filling it up and packing it up, and it's gone. And the next day, the infection was gone.
Wow.
The infection was gone. And why I tell that story right here is because then I went on to teach aerobics. I went on to do national championships. I loved exercise. But then I picked up the same habits of extreme measures, working out 5-6 hours a day, really crazy diets, even doing things like abusing drugs, because my mantra was thin at any cost. I knew that my weight equaled my worth, and that's all that mattered.
And that was cemented at when you were in your 3rd grade, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3rd grade.
And so this is, again, I tell parents, what you tell your kids at a young age is cemented. You are their role models. You are, everything to them. And what you tell them really sticks. And that stayed with you to adulthood, didn't it?
Yeah, and I really felt like my life would be over if I gained weight. But my weight went up and down and up and down. But my fitness career was going great. I was sponsored by Nike. I was 2nd in the world, national champion of fitness. I mean, super fit, 2nd in the world. So you can imagine, I was fit, I was strong, I could diet, and still I was struggling. I was depressed, and I couldn't sustain it.
Because inside, there was a whole different story.
Because inside, there was just this fear that I wasn't enough the way that I was. And I was doing a television show. I had this morning television show. It was a live TV show every single morning. I got super fit to get the job, but as usual, I kept doing this. I gained, I don't know, maybe 20 pounds. And the producer took me aside one day, and he just gave me a talking to. Kind of, it was the same moment as being on the scale.
On the 3rd grade.
Where somebody's looking at me in that way where they're saying, no, you're not okay this way. And you know, that was a great moment because it was a defining moment for me.
And your worth was again defined by an external structure, the scale or somebody else telling you what you look like.
Right.
This is super important. What she's saying is that, you know, she's come all the way here now and overcome this because of the fact she's now taken a whole different goal now. And we've got about a minute left, but
yeah.
Tell us what you've done today to be where you are.
Well, so what I realized is everything after we say after the words I am becomes our identity. And I was saying, I'm fat, I have to lose weight. I'm fat, I have to work out. I'm fat. When I realized through that what my dad had taught me and the power of the mind and the visualization that we have to really be able not only to see where we want to go and really believe that's a possibility, we have to change the language we use on ourselves every day. We've got to become our own best friends. We really have to use compassion and kindness. You can't hate your body enough and hate yourself enough to turn happy one day. It doesn't work. So it has to be an inside job.
And it's got to be consistent, doesn't it? It's got to be.
It's got to be a practice.
Yeah, you got to do it all the time. We'll have more with Patricia as she takes us through an Intensati class. It's interesting stuff. Please stay with us.
Now go like this. Touch the heart. That's where your power is. Courage to do new things. Courage to get out of your comfort zone. It starts with recognizing you have everything you need. You have the blessings you need to take the challenge.
You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and we're back with Patricia Moreno. Thank you for staying with us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And we've talked about positive mantras mixed with exercise. Now, Patricia's going to show us how it's done. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is going to be fun?
It's going to be
you
so
guys
fun.
Ready? All right, take it away.
Okay.
What are we going to do?
Let's do it. We're going to have everybody stand up. Okay. We're going to hit the music, and all we're going to do is get you guys marching in place.
All right.
So as you march in place, you're already stimulating the bottoms of your feet, getting your mind ready. You're telling your mind, I'm taking some action today. Now you're going to circle the arms like this, but as fast as you can. The name of this move is called willpower. You're training that inner whiner to be quiet, and your inner warrior is going to take over. I'm going to say something, you repeat after me. Are you ready?
Ready.
You say yes, yes. Are you ready? Yes. Put a smile on your face. I am powerful beyond measure. Powerful beyond measure. I am powerful beyond measure. Powerful beyond Woo! Measure. I am powerful beyond measure. Powerful beyond measure. And then you clap, 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 clap. 8, 7, 6, 5, arms up and cheer. Let me hear a cheer. High five your neighbor.
High five my neighbor. Good job. That was awesome. Oh, yeah. So, what'd you guys think? I said, what'd you guys think? Awesome. So for those watching at home, really you gave a lot of positive intention, didn't you? So,
yeah.
so many people, and you're watching out there, they get so many negative messages, right? And what you're doing is they're having fun and exercising, but you're telling their minds and their bodies that they can do it. Positive affirmation.
You got to get your mind on your side. If you can't win in your mind, how are you going to win in your life? And you have total power to train that inner voice to be an inner warrior, not an inner whiner. And we've got to train it, and it needs the exercise because there's a strong negativity bias. We all go to the negative first. And things like losing weight, it's not easy. It's hard. You're always up against your habits and being in discomfort. But when you say, I can do hard things, I can do hard things, I've done hard things before, I got this. There's something that switches and you find a way. And that's what you have to be able to do.
And that's huge. And here's the thing. People believe that that losing weight is hard, and so they make their behaviors. Human beings are like computers. We're hardwired. If you believe something to be true, it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Of course.
So do what she just said. Have positive affirmations and make it happen. Up next, my prescription for healthy eating as a way of life. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You've been watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and thank you for staying with us. So how do we maintain a healthy lifestyle? Here are my prescriptions for you. First, get your head in the game. Eating the right way begins and ends with the space between your ears. Now, once your mind understands the importance of great nutrition, the rest follows accordingly. Second, the way to the heart is through the gut. Emotional eating is detrimental. Work to fill the hurt and needy heart with spirituality and purpose, and don't let unhealthy eating habits fill the void. Next, you are what you eat. Stop worrying about what the media says about what we should weigh and look like. Eat to maintain a healthy weight and size for you. And finally, an ounce of prevention is absolutely worth a pound of cure. Eat until you're 2/3 full and choose green leafy veggies, critical habits that you should all do. Avoid red meat and saturated fat, and these are clogging your arteries every day. Now, to stay informed about today's topic, learn about healthy living and how to become your own health hero, please visit AskDrNandy.com. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Be sure to search Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest, and search Partha Nandi MD and join our discussion. Lastly, there's a beautiful word in the Hindi language that literally means the light in me honors the light in you, and that word is namaste. So namaste to each and every one of you. I thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. One in 3 of us here in America are considered to be clinically obese. We're eating our way into all kinds of health issues. The number of adults developing type 2 diabetes has spiked, and the food we pile on our plates is blamed for a rise in high blood pressure, cancers, and heart disease. At the same time, there's so much conflicting information out there about diet and nutrition. So more than ever, most of us are confused about what we should be eating. Today, I've brought together highly regarded nutritionists and lifestyle experts to help us change our eating habits in time to save our health.
As a practicing physician, I wanted to create a place that folks could go to that not only delivers great health information in a way that's understandable and useful, but also share inspirational stories to help us all grow.
People think that once you're adults, you're done learning. You are not. In order to be successful, you have to have an open mind to learn.
Real problems discussed in depth with real solutions. This is the Dr. Nandi Show.
Hey, great to have you here. You know the goal of all of our shows is to help every one of you live a full and healthy life, all the way to 100. But are we eating ourselves into early graves? My patients often tell me how confused they are about diet and nutrition. Should they eat low carb? What about a high fat diet? Even, is it safe to eat butter again? Well, today I'm determined to get answers for you, and you can expect some revolutionary ideas. Be right back after this.
But honestly, the thing that will save your family and the well-being and health of your future generations even is to start cooking healthy meals in the kitchen.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and today we're trying to figure out what to feed our families. There's a lot of confusion out there, so let's try to clear some things up. Some people, like my first guest, believe today's fast food lifestyle is just a fast way to bad health. But she's got a quick fix. It's called a revolutionary thing called a home-cooked meal. So please welcome integrative medicine practitioner, Dr. Shelley Sethi, also a good friend of mine. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, this is something you can get from a restaurant. It seems awesome. And so, tell me, is there something wrong with it? Everybody says, I eat this. What's wrong with it?
Well, Partha, it's really amazing the hidden stuff that's in our food at a restaurant. So take something like this. It looks like an incredible dish of spaghetti, a very large portion size. And, you would expect a little bit of salt to be in this dish. So let's just see, maybe a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons.
Oh, no.
Honestly, it's probably more like 3 teaspoons of salt,
exactly
which
right.
is
I used to work in a restaurant. I know it's 3.
Yes, it's a lot. Now, what you probably didn't realize is that there's also sugar in this dish. And so let's look at that. We've got 1 teaspoon, 2, 3, I would argue 4. Probably 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it's hidden in the sauce.
It doesn't look very good anymore. Nobody's going to eat this.
It's also hidden in the refined grains that are in the pasta itself. So we oftentimes do forget about the fact that we're getting sugar anyway from our processed and refined grains, and then you take the added salt and the sugar.
It's horrible. And here's the thing, and Dr. Shelley, you hear this all the time too. This is not sweet. How can it be sugar? And people don't realize that refined sugars are in products like this. And this is what is killing us. And so we got simple sugars, insulin spikes, insulin resistance, fatty liver, and the obesity epidemic. Now this looks absolutely delicious, and most of the crew was fighting to eat this before the show. So what's wrong with this amazing thing?
So here's, a American-sized portion chocolate cake.
American.
And
and she's from Texas. Everything is big there, so
everything's
go ahead.
big. That's a Texas-style portion. We would expect, again, the sugar, so let's go with that. And what you don't expect is the salt.
Oh, more.
That's salt, right? So this is your salt that we didn't
perfect.
expect to be in our chocolate cake.
Yeah.
The sugar we expected, probably about 6 teaspoons or so. So let's just load that up, get that on there, pile it on.
Nobody's going to eat this anymore.
No one's going to eat that anymore. It doesn't look so good.
Exactly, and that's the idea. We're making a little bit, being a little funny about it, but this is really what you're eating. And if you give this to someone, they'll say, "Oh, I don't want to eat that." And that's what we have to educate people. But they say, we're busy parents. You're a busy parent. You've got kids. I got no time, doctor. I know that you got lots of time, and you're showing me this show. But how can I do with my busy schedule?
Yeah, that's something I hear a lot from my patients. How can I cook a home-cooked meal for my family when I'm busy? So we're running around doing all this stuff, taking care of our families, but isn't the first way to take care of our families giving them good food to eat? And honestly, it doesn't have to take that long. I'm a parent of 2 little boys. I have a full clinical practice. I cook 30-minute meals. So, just starting to get back into the kitchen, getting comfortable with the foods, using spices and herbs to flavor your foods, and really getting in there and involving even the whole family in the process.
Absolutely. I have my kids cook with me, and I'm sure you do too. Even the smallest things. So what did we make yesterday? We made carrots. We cook a lot with Indian style, so we put some turmeric in there.
Perfect.
And they love the slice of carrots. And the thing is, they said, this is the best it's ever been. And so you get all that community base, your tribe comes in, and you bring healthy stuff. What about this magic diet? Because everybody says, doctor, I know you're telling me you're supposed to eat these well-rounded meals, but I need a diet, a magic diet. Is there such a thing?
There's not, unfortunately. There is definitely not a one-size-fits-all diet. It depends on so many things.
Yeah.
And I think that's, we are a culture sometimes of extremes and we want quick fixes. But honestly, the thing that will save your family and the well-being and health of your future generations even is to start cooking healthy meals in the kitchen.
And absolutely, and you know what you're putting in. Here, nobody's going to tell you, the restaurant's not going to tell you, this is what we put in.
Right.
But when you're at home, you control all of it, and you know exactly what's going in. Whole foods, done the right way. A lot to think about and amazing illustrations. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
When we come back, it has the same calories as margarine, but a higher level of saturated fat, and overnight, it turned into public enemy number 1, but now butter is back. But for how long? Stay tuned, we'll tell you all about it.
And I did low-fat diets again and again and again for many years, was always hangry and couldn't understand it. Now I know the nourishing fats I eat in my ketogenic diet make me healthy and make my brain stabilize so I have a healthy mood all the time, and I'm just happy all the time.
You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. All right, so you remember when you were told that butter was full of bad stuff, bad fats, right? And we should switch to healthier margarine. Then we were warned that trans fatty acids in some spreads could triple the risk of heart disease, triple the risk. So maybe butter wasn't so bad after all, right? And so there's been a lot of flip-flopping with all kinds of foods. And my next guest says we wouldn't be so hungry if we indulged our natural cravings for whole milk and cheese, cream, and eggs. And here's the thing, he says it's good for your brain as well. Please welcome the author of Keto Clarity, Mr. Jimmy Moore. Jimmy, awesome to have you here.
Hey man, how are you?
Really good. Thank you so much
Thanks
for coming on. Yeah, so you're saying that most people think that butter is fattening and bad for you, but you don't think so?
No, I think we've been fed a big fat lie, to be honest with you. Fats are actually a very essential element in our diet, and people forget your brain is 70% fat. So yes, we're all fatheads here. let's just be honest. It's not an insult. You should be very
That's right.
You should be very
He's here all week, folks.
Thrilled. Yeah, tip your waitress. So it's an essential element in why your brain functions properly. And I did low-fat diets again and again and again for many years, was always hangry and couldn't understand it. Now I know the nourishing fats I eat in my ketogenic diet make me healthy and make my brain stabilize so I have a healthy mood all the time. And I'm just happy all the time.
And so you know that people who are critical of this idea say two things. Long-term studies, we don't know what happens to people who are eating animal fats and animal-based fats for a long period of time. And then why not eat good fats from plants? Tell me why you wouldn't advocate for that, or maybe you do.
I do advocate for coconut oil and avocado
Avocados.
oil
Good,
and olive
perfect.
oil, along with butter, lard, tallow, really any healthy, real food fat.
So you said lard and you said healthy. So those two
Absolutely.
things people don't think. You guys are watching. Grandma used to make potatoes with lard, and she had heart disease. So tell me how lard is healthy.
Well, she had heart disease because of the potato, not because of the lard.
But but people will say even without the potatoes that lard and these animal-based fats in excess. Here's the thing I would say is that everything should be in moderation. We went from the whole idea that it should be low fat, no fat. Everything became carbohydrate based, and absolutely that's we know now. When you give people sugars, you have an insulin spike, you have insulin resistance, fatty liver, and you have the whole setup for becoming, obese population.
Right.
But at the same time, I think to say to people that now go low carb and high fat is the way to go, I think there are problems with that too. I mean, would you agree that people would just say just eat fat and don't have any complex carbohydrates too? Remember, there's simple sugars and there's complex sugars, right? So if you have fruits and vegetables, that's okay as well with having some healthy fats. Would you agree with that?
I think part of the challenge in this discussion is we're leaving out a huge segment of the population that has this condition called insulin resistance.
Sure.
And so if you have insulin resistance, which means your natural insulin producing mechanism isn't working properly, all bets are off at that point. I mean, I used to drink 16 cans of Coca-Cola a day.
How many?
16 cans. Wow. You can add the sugar up.
That's
in
a
that
lot
one.
of sugar.
It's a lot of sugar. And I actually ate upwards of 1,500 grams of carbohydrates daily at one point in my life.
Not good.
And it's not good at all. But because of that choice that I made in my past, which I admit it was horrible, I've now changed, and what ketogenic low-carb, high-fat does for me is it mitigates the effects of that. And so my health is spectacular now. Recently had my A1C, which is the average blood sugar level of the past 3 months, come back at 4.9, which is enviable amongst most people.
And again, congratulations for your health. I guess my point is that I think the message shouldn't be for people, go have a bunch of lard and butter every single day. To me, the message is that don't have 16 cans of Coke,
correct,
but don't have a pound of lard. I think you have to go somewhere in between where you can have butter sometimes, you can have some of the fats that we talked about, have the good fats as well, but I think your body is also even people who are insulin resistant can have a vegetable. They can have a fruit. Because here's the thing that's happening out there for people who don't understand, that when you have a complex carbohydrate filled with fiber, there's a gradual absorption of that carbohydrate, which means that your insulin doesn't spike. You're not making your insulin resistance worse. And so could you eat 10 apples in a row? Probably not. But could you eat an apple a day and then put veggies in your plate along with an avocado, along with a healthy meal, healthy meat? Absolutely. But I think what you're pointing out, and I think it's a great tool in this book, you're talking about keto clarity. And the keto clarity to me is that you can have fat, good fat, and it doesn't mean it's bad. We were fed a lot of, for lack of a better word, nonsense about the fact that all fat is bad. And you pointed out very clearly in the first part of our segment is that your brain needs fat. And so fat's not a bad word. It's just that the bad fats, they're good fats, and you want to do it in moderation. And what Jimmy's talking about is that, the cans of Coke, having white bread is not going to cut it. And we were fed lies that could do it. Jimmy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome information. I really appreciate it. Well, I'll tell you, not everyone may approve of Jimmy's high-fat diet, though. When we come back, we will meet the specialist who says 80% of chronic diseases could be avoided if we ditched butter completely, along with eggs, cheese, milk, and meat, all your favorites, Jimmy. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
I don't see any 100-year-old putting butter in their coffee anywhere in the world, unless they just started at age 100. They haven't been into it. So I study centenarians and others, and I really do care about people's arteries. I think we're on a bad path when we give that kind of advice.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and thank you for staying with us. So what's best for our brains and bodies? We've just met Jimmy Moore, who says that high-fat dairy foods like grass-fed butter is a secret to weight loss, even mental clarity. But America's heart-healthy doctor believes encouraging people to smother butter on everything, even drop it in their morning coffee, really does more harm than good. My friend, Dr. Joel Kahn, is the author of The Plant-Based Solution. Thank you, as always, for joining us.
Thank you for your good work.
Of course. So it's all kinds of diets out there, Joel, and tell us all about this. I mean, why are we being inundated with things like putting butter in your coffee?
Yeah, because, there is a fat a minute. And truly, if you write a book and give advice to people that they want, maybe not what they need, but give them what they want, you sell a lot and you generate a lot of attention. So right now we're hearing a lot about lots of meat, lots of butter, lots of cheese. I always say, let's step back. I mean, I want to be 100 years old at a party, dancing, having fun. That's really a goal.
Not a nursing home.
I don't see any 100-year-old putting butter in their coffee anywhere in the world, unless they just started at age 100. They haven't been into it. So I study centenarians and others, and I really do care about people's arteries. I think we're on a bad path when we give that kind of advice. It's pretty simple advice we need to talk about.
And so it's kind of drive-through advice, isn't it? So short-term gains, people say, look, I gave this person butter in their coffee and, they're full of energy and they've lost weight. And so you're saying you're interested in the long gain. You're interested in the long-term solution and not just a quick fix, because you're right, you want to be able to be living healthy and happy and not just say, I want to fit in this bathing suit and then you're done with it, because the damage you're doing is far more than that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways to drop weight and get in a bathing suit. Chemotherapy is one of them, and so is a bacterial infection of your colon, your specialty. But these are not what we advise people. So we got to come up with strategies where you can try and maintain a healthy weight, but also gain the long play. I'll just give an example. I go back to your organ, the GI tract. You eat a high-fat meal like something with butter, you'll release bacterial products called endotoxin in your blood. Terrible agent to have for your arteries in your bloodstream, and that happens within 40, 50 minutes. So I say eat natural fats from avocados, olives, nuts, and seeds, but stay away from all those high-fat animal products. It's not good for your health, it's not good for the planet, and we got to really think about that, because so many of us are trying to live on this little ball that we call the earth.
That's exactly right. And here's the thing, what we're talking about is when people make recommendations of making butter a staple in your diet, we're not saying if you have butter, once a week or, occasionally. It's a different different conversation than what we're talking about, where if you're listening, because a lot of people say, well, I eat butter. Does that mean I've got endotoxin all over my body? That's not the case. We're talking people who advocate putting butter in your coffee, making that part of your health solution. What do you recommend eating? This is an amazing book, and anybody who thinks seriously about eating and eating healthy should get it. What do you recommend eating?
Well, I try and teach people about a ratio, plant to animal ratio. Now, I eat only plants. That's 100 to 0 or 100 to 1. But people out there don't need to do that necessarily, but they need to think about it. More plants, less animals.
Absolutely.
There was this country called Finland, had the highest heart attack rate in the world in 1970. They did it as a countrywide effort. More plants, less animals. The heart attack rate dropped 80% in 5 years. Guys your age and my age stopped having heart attacks. So I teach what happened in Finland. Let's not do that in the United States and other parts of the world. Let's learn from the past 50 years ago. More plants. Your oatmeal has berries. Your sandwich has lettuce and tomato. Your dinner always has broccoli, cauliflower, or a side salad. And let's use those spices from your home country. Let's put that turmeric. Let's put that curry. Because we know for your heart and your brain, there's probably nothing better you can put on food than turmeric everywhere you can. So
and teach
plant,
your kids that.
Animal.
And teach your kids that. And what Dr. Khan's saying is so important, that in our nation we feel like vegetables always have to be a small side dish, right? The thing is that how do you make it into a main dish? And the part of the world that I was born in, I mean, people specialize in making vegetables into a main meal, and you can do that. It's when you have changed the mindset that unless you have meat on your meal, that you're not really eating, and that's something a lot of my patients say to me. So I appreciate that. Is it ever too late? Somebody's saying, well, Doc, I'm 65 and eating meat all my life. It's too late for me. And you say no.
No. Within an hour of changing your meal from a bacon, egg, sausage breakfast to an oatmeal, green smoothie, fruit breakfast, you change the way your arteries react within an hour. But certainly within 3 weeks, my organ, the heart, shows clear benefits. I don't care what age you are. If you've got serious heart disease, plants go up, animals go down. I can prove to you your arteries are healthier within just 3 weeks. You may feel better, more mental clarity, better skin. You'll actually have a healthier GI tract, all those bacteria, the microbiome. So give me 3 weeks. I'll make you younger by eating more plants. That's science, and there's no doubt about it. I love something called G-bombs. Greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, and then finally B for berries. Eat those foods every day, and whatever else you do, you pretty much got an insurance policy.
It's what he's talking about is so amazingly important, because we think about, if you want to lose weight, feel healthy, you always have to take a supplement. And what he's talking about is all the foods, and it's all in this book too, all the foods he talked about actually can do the same thing as so many of those things you see at GNC. So make it a point to make plants a part of your diet. Healthy plants, healthy vegetables, fruit. It doesn't mean you can never have meat again, but like you talked about, the ratio has to be much greater than the animals. Thank you so much, Dr. Khan. Always a pleasure. His book is amazing, and he's amazing. He's a good friend of ours. We'll be back again, hopefully, very soon to talk about this.
Let's talk about living to 100.
We'll have to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be schooled in how to be smarter shoppers. Please stay with us.
1 in 3 children born after the year 2000 are estimated to become diabetic.
Unbelievable.
That is a nutritional disease. We can reverse that trend.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and thanks for staying with us. Now, earlier in the show, we were encouraged to get back in the kitchen and start making dinners from scratch, right? At least then we know what we're eating. Now, take a look at this. If you're struggling to pronounce some of these ingredients, you are not alone. And now there's a growing number of grocery store chains that have healthier options, claiming if you can't pronounce them, perhaps you shouldn't be eating them. Please welcome nutritionist and integrative practitioner Terry Cochran. Thank you so much. You have transformed thousands of lives. She's a great friend of mine too. So there's a lot of ingredients out there, right? And it seems like it comes out of a science lab, but it really is in the foods we're eating.
They are. This is a science lab and a science experiment in our kitchen. So what we feel is really healthy may be anything but healthy for us, because there are some hidden ingredients. One of my philosophies is, can't read it, won't eat it. And so thank you.
Can't read it, won't eat it. Remember that. You heard it right here. Hashtag.
We have to become food detectives.
Yes.
And part of that is education, and because education becomes empowering, and then we can pass it on to our kids and our loved ones and our friends. So really, this looks like a healthy meal. Not so healthy.
Yeah, and remember to read labels. The whole idea is read labels, understand what's going on. Yeah, it looks like kind of a healthy meal, so I don't think it is it? You're going to tell us why.
No, we're going to give you the hidden secrets of
And what about
why
this-
it's not so
this
healthy.
amazing
Well,
bread?
starting out with our amazing bread, it's, you know, it's a staple for American kitchens, but this bread has been denatured. And what does denatured mean? Well, it means that this is not 100% whole wheat. All the wonderful vitamins and nutrients have been stripped from the bread, and then the science lab goes in and co-creates it, recreates it, and shoves it back in the bread. But guess what, folks?
So it looks like bread.
It looks like bread, but it's nothing but bread because it has high fructose corn syrup, which could be detailed on your food labels as fructose. So you think, oh, fructose, that's healthy. No, no, no.
It's not.
High fructose corn syrup, we know, has devastating effects on our cholesterol. 1 in 3 children born after the year 2000 are estimated to become diabetic.
Unbelievable.
That is a nutritional disease. We can reverse that trend.
And so as you guys know, when you have this high fructose corn syrup, your sugar is spiking, insulin resistance is going up, and it's making you fat, making you prone to diabetes and heart attacks and strokes. So absolutely. What about this? This looks pretty healthy. You got these greens, but then you got this amazing thing in
That
the
thing
front.
over there. Well, of course, the salad greens are healthy, and you want it to be organic. But when you pour this little guy on there, we got some problem here. This could be rocket fuel. We've got seriously, and not the kind of rocket fuel you want.
No.
So parabens are a preservative that helps the shelf life of food stay there longer.
So you can sell more of it.
You can sell more of it, but it's an estrogen. It's not the kind of estrogen we want. We have preservatives. We have food dyes. Again, high fructose corn syrup. We have these little ingredients called MSG. This will help enhance the flavor, but MSG has been linked to asthma. It's been linked to mental health disorders. It's been linked to ADHD. Not what we want in our bodies.
No, and so much of us eat so little of the greens and drown it with the crap that you talked about. And that's the problem, is that, you know, you can have healthy foods, but you can also make them unhealthy by putting stuff on it. But what about this beautiful chicken? This can't be bad. Tell it ain't so. It's got to be good.
Well, you know, this chicken looks plumped, doesn't it?
You're gonna spoil my fantasy.
I'm so
tell.
sorry.
Go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry. But when we look at this shiny little chicken,
Yes,
it's
I
got
like
a
the shiny little
glaze.
chicken,
That
yes.
glaze is not natural. This has not been glazed with honey. It has been glazed with artificial ingredients. It has been glazed with anything that is but good for us. Plus, what they do is they inject a sodium solution into the bird to make it more flavorful, to make it palate friendly. And American palates, we have really lost sight of what things should taste like. I have a lot of my clients come into my practice, and I'll give them just a fresh piece of fruit that they must chew 30 times, because the average American chews their food less than 5 times.
Exactly.
So we are not digesting. Digestion starts in the mouth. They have forgotten how sweet a fruit is.
They've even forgotten how food tastes because we're so programmed and sweet. So Fred, you know, my assistant director, he cannot have that chicken. What else is bad in that chicken besides what you talked about?
Well, there's so much sodium in there. There's a glaze in there that has nitrates and sulfates. And I say 8s and 8s, or 8s and 8s, not on my plate.
8s and 8s, not on my plate.
No,
I like that.
yeah, thank you. Because it impacts mental cognition. It gives us asthma, allergies, arthritis. It can even leak our gut.
And you know that fog that you talk about, after you eat these foods, you don't understand why, because it looks healthy. Thank you so much. It was
my
awesome
great
information.
pleasure.
You're one of my most favorite people on the planet. She's awesome. So we know about vegetarianism, but have you ever met a wilditarian? Well, we're here with one right now. When we come back, we'll find out about Terry's radical, back to basics lifestyle. Stay with us. So what's wrong with the foods that we have here?
Well, for example, kale. Kale is otherwise an anti-cancer vegetable.
Right, antioxidants, correct.
Very high in indole-3 carbonyl. It's really high in antioxidants and phytonutrients. However, the Roundup, which is sprayed on our crops, is stopping our body's ability to process this very healthy food.
Welcome back to the Dr. Nandi Show, and what we're discovering is that the fork is the most important tool you can have in your medicine cabinet. So use it wisely. We've been talking to nutritionist and integrative practitioner Terry Cochran, who says that if you want to live a long life, you've got to be better at listening to this thing, your body, because those aches and pains are often inflammatory responses to bad food choices. So Terry, you're saying that if you lived the way your body and nature really intended, you would have fewer visits to people like me, the doctor. Why is that?
That is absolutely true, because we have gotten so far away from nature. All the food that came from nature when the soil was nutrient rich and we lived in a lifestyle of abundance and a sacred relationship with food, we did not have the nutritional diseases we have today, and it is an epidemic in the United States. We have to get back to living as nature intended.
And you have an awesome name for it, right?
Yes.
It's called the Wilditarian method. This is important. Please take a listen. So tell me about the Wilditarian way of living.
Well, the Wilditarian way of living, it is a diet, but I have redefined the word diet to go from a stress, deprivation, fear-based approach to think about diet as a high vibration word, where it means everything that you consume in life, your thoughts, your environment, how you relate to people. And so when you think, and including our food, when you think about diet and shift it, then it's about abundance, nourishment, and mindfulness, getting back to the way that nature intended for us to coexist with our food supply.
And absolutely, and you said something really key, deprivation. Whenever people hear diet, they think they're going to stop getting something. And you're flipping the switch. You're taking the script and reversing and saying that I'm giving you more abundance. So getting back to getting more of what you want. So, but you've got this amazing plate of stuff, but you don't really like this plate, do you?
I don't, not for me anyway. Well, the whole tenet of the Wilditarian approach is that we are bio-individual. That means what might be great for you may be awful for me. And so the three tenets of the Wilditarian approach, protein, fat, and sulfur malabsorption, is causing a deleterious health epidemic in our country because of the way that we grow our foods.
And what's wrong with the foods that we have here?
Well, for example, kale. Kale is otherwise an anti-cancer vegetable.
Right, antioxidants, correct.
Very high in indole-3 carbonyl. It's really high in antioxidants and phytonutrients. However, the Roundup, which is sprayed on our crops, is stopping our body's ability to process this very healthy food. And so it gets stuck, not in sulfur. It doesn't go to sulfate, which is the end product. I'm going a little science here.
That's good.
Which is what we need for our bones.
She's got a big brain, can you tell?
Our bones and our tendons and our ligaments and our neurotransmitters and our healthy gut biome and our healthy gut integrity. But it's getting stuck, and we are becoming sulfur malabsorbed, which means that you can go from a healthy gut to a leaky gut, from a healthy brain to a leaky brain, because if you have otherwise genetic predispositions that we're not optimal sulfur processors, and 1/3 of the population in the US is that, then this healthy food, this kale, I say, can be your hail, because it's going to hurt you. It can give you arthritis.
This kale can be your hail. I know my friend Ron, who's here, he would love to hear that. And so here's the key, you can, and this is why we say if you can avoid using pesticides, if you can get organic, non-GMO products, that really will help you.
Yes.
What's wrong with the lemon that's here?
Well, the lemon is quite good. It's alkalizing. However, if we have, again, I have archetypes, kidney, really high kidney issues, then that lemon is going to calcify, especially if you have impaired sulfur processing. And so I call these people construction workers, because they build things. We build calcifications and plaque, and part of the Wilditarian approach again is to the protein, which is not shown here, but we have found through our clinical outcomes in my practice, plus the scientific literature that we have uncovered, is that the crowding of our animals are creating amyloids, which are these indigestible, aberrant, truncated proteins. And we know about the beta amyloids in the brain becoming a very big epidemic of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, but also amyloids have been linked to type 1 diabetes. It's been linked to cancer. It's been linked to kidney disease. It's been linked to contributing to the 50 major conditions in our country. And so we have to go wild with a lower amyloid-based protein structure, because in particular cows and chicken, and there are studies out of Cambridge and Japan that show these are animals that are no longer serving us in the way that nature intended because of the crowding and the feeding of these animals. So getting back to nature.
And here's the thing, we've talked multiple times in our show how a tribe in humanity, in human beings, the tribes are so important. Same with animals. If you take these animals, take out their normal habitat, their normal behavior, things happen in their body, and what Terry's suggesting is that those changes can affect you. And the other thing that Terry talked about was deprivation. And here's a nice example of what deprivation does for you. It raises your cholesterol, and then you have the same stuff that's here, right?
Absolutely.
So you've got these cupcakes, and you say, well, I don't want to eat cupcakes. What are you showing me, Dr. Nandi and Terry? It's the fact that when you stress yourself, this is what happens, right?
Yes, I call it cupcaking yourself. So we can avoid cupcakes and sweets for life, but we are pushing that cortisol, that epinephrine, which is a fat and a sugar, and especially epinephrine. The studies show is epinephrine leaks our gut and makes us fat malabsorb because it opens up our gut. Our gut should be, I say, a nicely woven pantyhose. We go from pantyhose to a big fishnet stocking. Too many holes in that gut.
You don't need fishnet stocking.
No fishnets.
You're amazing. Thank you so much. Great stuff. After the break, the secret ingredient, how to turn your kitchen cabinet into a medicine cabinet. We've got some advice from one of the world's most respected nutritionists. Coming up next, you don't want to miss it.
I think that fat is where it's at. We need a higher fat diet, the good fats, the healthy fats, the plant-based fats.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. Having a lot of fun today. Now, we're looking at what we should put on our plates for the sake of our health, and I'm delighted to introduce you now to one of the world's most foremost experts in functional and integrative medicine. She's written 30 books about diet and lifestyle, and the latest is about radical metabolism. The Cancer Control Society recently presented her with a humanitarian award. Please welcome Anne-Louise Kittleman. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on that award, too.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So we've heard a ton about diets during the show. And how do you find a diet, quote unquote? I don't like that word to begin with, I'll tell you my bias. But how do you find a diet that works for you?
You know, that's a really good question. And I remember many years ago, there was a Roman philosopher that said that one man's meat is another man's poison.
Right.
And you know, that's very, very true. So you really have to tune into your body because I really believe that your body knows best. Now, having said that, I think that fat is where it's at. We need a higher fat diet, the good fats, the healthy fats, the plant-based fats, maybe the olive oil, a little bit of coconut oil, even some avocado oil, and avocados thrown into your salad as well as walnuts. We have to reduce the sugar, and we have to really get those friendly carbohydrates back into the diet, whether that's sweet potato yams or a little bit of squash. I don't think you should really omit any particular food group unless there's a designated allergy or food sensitivity, and that would go for your wheat, and that would go for your dairy, and that would certainly go for sugar.
And so here's the thing, you know, we're talking about everywhere you see people say, well, I avoid gluten and now I'm healthy, or I avoid all, you know, dairy products and I'm healthy. And I don't ascribe to that, and it doesn't sound like you do either.
Not long term. You can do an elimination diet to figure out whether in fact these food allergies are fixed food allergies, but not long term, because your body needs a little bit of everything. You need the right kind of protein, you need the right kind of fats, and I really think that fats are where it's at, which I mentioned previously. And God forbid if there's an issue with cancer or Alzheimer's or even diabetes, then you'd be looking at a more stringent diet like the keto diet that one of your guests had spoken about. We all have to get back into the kitchen though, Dr. Nandi. That's really what the secret is.
And we do, you know, our whole family cooks, and I think that that's the problem, that most of America feels like they have to go somewhere or drive through somewhere to get the food because they just don't want to take the time to cook. And I tell people, just stop looking at the phone and do something with your family. It's such an easy way to do it. But talk to me about, you know, we had a previous guest talk about a ketogenic diet, and so many people are jumping on that bandwagon. I don't believe that if you restrict any food group and then take another food group to excess, really works long term. Speak to that, because you've really studied this extensively.
I don't think it works long term, but I think that the broad strokes that you can take from that are we really need fat to stabilize blood sugar. It's a major blood sugar stabilizer, and a lot of people in this country have blood sugar issues up and down, and because of insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome and so forth. So getting the right fats, I think, is important, but I think you can do a modified keto and be healthy, and that's where the avocado that we spoke about comes into play. That's where a little bit of olive oil, maybe your walnuts tossed into a salad, as well as some macadamia nut oil. All of that to me is very healthy, and some flaxseed oil for the essential fats, which in my book are really very important to get skinny, so that they're skinny fats that we should really be concentrating on. Not all the butter, which is totally neutral when it comes to your heart, by the way, and not all that lard that your guest had spoken about.
And then people, it's very controversial, because you'll get people on both sides of the spectrum will tell you that butter has been shown long-term not to be good, and others will tell you that the overall effect is good. But my philosophy is this: I think that the insulin resistance and the problem that Americans have is because of the simple sugars that are basically given overtly, but also it's sneaking into our food. Speak to that, please, because so many people say, well, I don't see sugar in my food. Why do you tell me I have sugar? How can they figure out how you sneak the sugar in?
Well, anything with OSC is a sugar. It's kind of a sugar element.
Right.
You got to be careful with that, but you got to be careful with those sugar alcohols as well. Some of the artificial sweeteners that your body sometimes doesn't know is a sugar alcohol and thinks that it's real sugar. So we've got a sugar issue, not a fat issue in this country. And I think it's also important, as one of your previous guests had discussed, that you become a food detective.
Yes.
You've got to read and see what the first 5 to 7 ingredients are, and that's really what's very key. So you know what you're putting into this precious temple that we have.
It's the only one we have. And so people say, well, you know, I'd love to know what you put in your grocery cart when you go shopping. It would be great to find out what you put in your grocery cart.
Good question. So what do I put in my grocery cart? I love the herbs and spices. I like the turmeric, and I like rosemary, sage, parsley, and thyme. I don't think the song goes quite like that.
But it's close.
But you know, it's close enough. I love any of those herbs and spices. They're very high in antioxidants, exceedingly so, and so I use them when I'm grilling. I use a lot of rosemary and chicken and lamb because I do eat meat, and I do eat fairly moderate protein. And then, of course, what I do is I go to the periphery of the supermarket.
Nice.
So I load up on greens. Greens are very important for me, and not the typical greens. I like things like Bib lettuce, which is hydroponically grown, and a little bit of kale, bit of kale, not a whole lot of kale, and a little bit of spinach, but I also like some fennel and celery leaves, very high in minerals.
Yeah, my wife loves celery leaves, and we love Brussels sprouts. I mean, we shop the same way. The key is, I think, for people watching, takeaways are that, you know, fat is not a bad word, but the good fats are where it's at. And it's really important, if you're listening to her and some of the other guests, that you want to have good fats. You don't want to have excess of anything. You want to have things in moderation. And the thing is, you can enjoy your life and enjoy your food and still get all of your goals met. Thank you so much. It's been super helpful.
Thank you.
Wonderful honor for us. And thank you to all of our guests today. When we come back, we'll have Partha's prescriptions. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show, and today we've looked at the role diet plays in our overall health. Based on what we've heard here, my prescriptions for you. First, eat out less. Fast foods are often high in sugar and salt, the cause of many of today's diseases such as diabetes. Also, be a smarter shopper. Buy organic if you can, and make reading labels a daily habit. Also, if something has an ingredient that doesn't sound natural, leave it on the shelf. Do a better job at listening to your body. There's a reason for your aches and pains. And reduce your intake of high-fat dairy. And also stay away from those low-fat options. The natural ingredients that have been taken out are replaced with sugar and other substitutes. To stay informed about today's topics, learn about healthy living, and how to become your own health hero, visit me at AskDrNandi.com. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Be sure to follow Partha Nandi MD on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest, and join our discussion. Lastly, there's a beautiful word in the Hindi language that literally means the light in me honors the light in you, and that word is namaste. So namaste to each and every one of you. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.